Chapter 385, Three-Colored Spiritual Earth, by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. Right, Shiyu, when claiming a bounty, do they need to verify identity information or anything? Lu Changxing nodded and continued to ask. Usually not. There are many bounty hunters in the cultivation world, and they make their living by capturing heretic cultivators with bounties on their heads. They prefer to keep their identities secret. Therefore, the major immortal sects don't require identity verification as long as you have the head or a token of the deceased. They generally won't investigate your identity. Xiao Xia shook her head and explained. Got it. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing felt reassured. If identity verification were required, he would have simply given up on the bounty and not bothered with it. Suddenly, Lu Changxing began to collect the two corpses again. He planned to buy some equipment later to store the two bodies. Otherwise, by the time he went to collect the bounty, the bodies would be rotten. What's this? Lu Changxing started to clean out the storage bag. From the burly man's storage bag, he took out a few items that looked particularly cherished to inspect, and among them was a jar of tricolor patchy soil. The soil was not only filled with spiritual energy but also gave off a faint fragrance. This should be tricolor spiritual earth, a pretty good foundation establishment spiritual object. If consumed during foundation establishment by those cultivating earth attribute techniques, it can help with the magical barriers during the 3 stages of foundation establishment. It can also be used as medicinal mud for planting spiritual medicines and spirit plants, producing an accelerating effect on their growth. Standing to the side, Xiao Xia looked at the jar of tricolored soil and spoke out. Tricolor spiritual earth, foundation establishment spiritual object? Initially, Lu Changxing thought that foundation establishment spiritual objects were average. However, when he heard about the medicinal mud and its accelerating effects on growth, his eyes immediately lit up. After obtaining the golden armor bean mother, he had looked into methods to accelerate its maturity and growth. After all, the growth of the golden armor bean mother was excruciatingly slow. 3 years to sprout, 3 years to grow leaves, 3 years to bloom, 3 years to bear fruit, a full 12-year cycle. However, upon inquiry, he found that medicinal mud and soil capable of accelerating growth are very rare and precious. Unless it's an extremely rare spiritual medicine that's difficult to cultivate, it would be better to plant in spirit-rich spiritual earth and have a specialized spirit plant cultivator tend to it carefully. Unexpectedly, today, without any effort, he had come across such spiritual objects. Not bad, good stuff. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly and stored away the tricolor spiritual earth. He planned to use it later to cultivate the golden armor bean mother. The subsequent cleaning process didn't reveal any more high-value items that excited Lu Changxing. Even with treasures worth over 1,000 spirit stones, they didn't impress him much. All these are magical artifacts. This must have been plunder from a magical artifact shop. I wonder whose shop they robbed. Lu Changxing opened another storage bag. Seeing it was full of magical artifacts, he took a glance and couldn't help shaking his head. He then opened every storage bag one by one, finding them mostly filled with elixir medicines, magical artifacts, and spiritual medicines, clearly plundered goods. After half an hour, Lu Changxing had finally cleaned out all the storage bags. 156 middle-grade spirit stones. 12,894 lower-grade spirit stones. 1 portion of tricolor spiritual earth, 1 middle-grade spiritual artifact, for lower-grade spiritual artifacts, but 3 of them were severely damaged. For top-grade magical artifacts, 9 high-grade magical artifacts, 29 middle-grade magical artifacts, 35 lower-grade magical artifacts. 17 bottles of yellow dragon elixir, 9 bottles of energy refining powder, condensing energy elixirs, treasures of heaven and earth. Doesn't seem too much, probably only worth around 60 or 70,000 spirit stones in total. Lu Changxing looked over the items with a slight frown. The hall seemed large with a variety of items. But most items weren't worth much and were a hassle to deal with. Excluding the 3 storage bags given by the patriarch of the Yu family, the actual total was only about 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. That's also to be expected, already being a robber cultivator and resorting to robbing the marketplace. There's a limit to how wealthy that could make one. Lu Changxing gently shook his head, knowing not every cultivator could be wealthy. Especially those who were robber cultivators, they generally wouldn't carry a lot of spirit stones on them. Immediately, he looked at Xiao Xie and asked, Xiu, is there anything you fancy? Thank you, Lu Lang. Xiao Xie smiled lightly and didn't hesitate. She took a blue bead and a flying needle magical instrument. They were the lower-grade defensive spiritual artifact and a top-grade magical artifact of the female robber cultivator. Seeing that Xiao Xie only took 2 items, Lu Changxing gave her some talismans as well, to keep for emergencies. After all, for him, talismans were the least valuable. Right, there's also this big fellow. Lu Changxing asked Xiao Xie to step back a bit. He took the corpse of the green wolf out of the storage bag. Collect. Watching the massive corpse before him, Lu Changxing took out a magical artifact gourd and placed it to the side. Then, wielding the true Yang 5-element sword, he skillfully made incisions at several points on the green wolf, formed a spell with his hands, and collected all the blood into the gourd. This second-rank demon beast blood could not only be used to make spirit ink but also for concocting certain elixir medicines. Of course, Lu Changxing intended to use this demon beast blood to nourish his 6-winged golden silkworm. After draining the blood, Lu Changxing proficiently inspected the green wolf's head and abdomen. Confirming there was no demon core, he collected the corpse back into the storage bag. Lu Lang, you also know the art of spirit slaughter? Xiao Xie watched Lu Changxing dissect the green wolf, collect the blood, and check for the demon core. Surprise flickered in her beautiful eyes. Just a little, Lu Changxing chuckled and said. This technique came naturally from the second-rank spirit slaughterer ability he had drawn from the system. In fact, his instant killing of the green wolf was also somewhat related to the second-rank spirit slaughterer ability. Chapter 386, 3-Colored Spiritual Earth, by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. _4 With a second-rank spirit slaughterer, he could, in the face of a demon beast, discern its weak points and flaws at the first instance, enabling a more effective attack. This feeling was incredibly profound, and even Lu Changxing himself couldn't explain it clearly. It was as if he had been slaying demon beasts for decades, his heart and blade equally cold, knowing exactly when to strike swiftly. Lu Lang, could you be the reincarnation of some great being? Otherwise, how could you be so formidable, knowing so much? Xiao Xie's beautiful eyes were lively as she blinked and looked at Lu Changxing, jokingly saying. Having been around Lu Changxing for so long, and him always surprising her, made her feel that he was no ordinary person. Yet, through their long association and interaction, and various behaviors, she could also tell that Lu Changxing wasn't like some old monster reborn. Hiss, you actually figured it out, I was once a false core master. Lu Changxing's heart skipped a beat as he said with a smile. He thought to himself that in front of Xiao Xie, he had indeed revealed a bit too much. It seemed he needed to be a little more restrained, otherwise, such astonishing performances were indeed too shocking and hard to explain. Wow, that's so impressive. Xiao Xie then put on an admiring look, causing Lu Changxing to be unable to resist pinching her clear, jade-cool cheeks. He thought that if Xiao Xie hadn't cultivated the supreme forgetful love technique, she would probably always be this way. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month passed. During this time, Lu Changxing spent his days making talismans, cultivating, refining the 9-treasure jade rui, and continuously teaching Lu Miaoge the Saturn solar sword technique. After half a month of hands-on, detailed instructions, Lu Miaoge finally made a simple entrance into the Saturn solar sword technique. The next step was for her to familiarize herself with the technique and convert her cultivation of the profound water art to the Saturn solar sword technique. Although this process would consume some of her cultivation level and delay her progress, overall, the benefits outweighed the drawbacks. Sister Miaoge, since you've grasped the Saturn solar sword technique, I will now head back home for a while. If you encounter any problems during your cultivation, stop and wait for me to return. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoge. I understand, Changxing, be careful on your journey. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle and water-like demeanor. Lu Changxing nodded and then rode the iron feather eagle back to Qingzhou Mountain. Shortly after Lu Changxing left the marketplace, a black-robed young man about 27 or 28 years old, with an ordinary and upright face, walked out of Red Leaf Valley Market. Red Leaf Valley Market, I shall return. After leaving the Red Leaf Valley region, the black-robed young man exhaled a sigh of relief, looked back toward Red Leaf Valley, clenched his fists tightly, and a shadowy fierceness flickered in his eyes. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing, as usual, first visited Qingzhou Villa to discuss matters of his lectures with Uncle Fu. Although he had lectured many times, there were only 2 or 3 youngsters with some talent for talisman making. Given his current lack of time, Lu Changxing didn't have the leisure to give them private lessons. He would just give them some extra attention and answer questions in class. He planned to have them apprentice at the Red Leaf Valley Market when they got older and if their parents agreed. By then, if he had time and was willing, he would provide more guidance and teaching. Moreover, if he was unavailable, Lu Miaoge could also take over. After returning home, his wives and children immediately came forward to inquire about the events at the Red Leaf Valley Market. The incident of the robber cultivator pillaging the Red Leaf Valley Market had caused quite a stir, and they all were aware of it. Though they knew Lu Changxing was unharmed, they were very concerned about him. Soon after, Lu Changxing also shared with them the general events of that night. His wives and concubines listened, feeling nothing but thrill and danger. A group of children heard about a foundation establishment robber cultivator causing havoc in the marketplace, and a sword cultivator stepping forward, breaking all spells with a single strike, slaying the robber cultivator, and saving the marketplace from fire and water, all showing excited expressions. After all, children of this age very much enjoyed stories of sword cultivators slaying demons and vanquishing evil. Seeing the children like this, Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile. Afterwards, he also inquired about the current situation of the children. He learned that Lu Xianji was still at the 2nd level of qi refinement. His son, Lu Chuanjun, would start cultivating in another month. As for the little girl Bai Ling, she expressed that she would break through to the 2nd level of qi refinement in a short while. Looking at Bai Ling's timid face, waiting for praise and commendation, Lu Changxing rubbed her little head and couldn't help but marvel at her talent. He remembered Bai Ling had started cultivating less than half a year ago. Specifically, from the time of drawing qi into her body to now, it had only been a bit more than 3 months. 3 months' time, without any elixir medicines, this progress was truly astonishing. This made him involuntarily think how great it would be if Bai Ling were his own biological daughter. In that case, his own talent would probably be at full throttle. After showing some concern and rewarding little Bai Ling, Lu Changxing went to his backyard and dug a pit, pouring all of the 3-colored earth into it. I wonder how much this tricolor spiritual earth will help the golden armor bean mother. Looking at the golden armor bean mother that had just started to show a bit of sprouting after a year, Lu Changxing's heart was filled with anticipation. He also mentioned to Lu Miaoyun that he had bought some spiritual earth and medicinal mud. Although Lu Miaoyun could tell that the spiritual earth and medicinal mud were extraordinary, she didn't ask much and stated that she would take care of it every day. Time flew quickly, and before he knew it, Lu Changxing had been back at Qingzhou Mountain for over a month. During this time, aside from cultivating, making talismans, and refining the 9 treasure jade rui, he was also fathering children. With his efforts, during this month, 4 maids had successfully conceived. And on this day, Lu Changxing's 121st and 122nd children were born. Just when these children were born, a system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for the first birth of Dragon and Phoenix twins, granting you 1 lottery chance. Dragon and Phoenix twins? There's even an achievement reward for this. Lu Changxing's eyebrows rose slightly as he smiled. He had known for a while that his concubine Kuei Si was carrying twins. But because he had already received a reward for the first set of twins, he didn't expect much chance of getting a reward the second time and consequently had no such expectations. Unexpectedly, without any particular hopes, he received a system reward. And both of these children had spiritual roots. 1/7 grade spiritual root, 1/8 grade spiritual root. Perhaps by continuously accumulating lower grade spiritual roots, would my spiritual root also slowly progress to 4th grade? However, for fast promotion of a spiritual root, it's still necessary to rely on higher grade ones. Lu Changxing sighed inwardly, yearning to have a child with a talent like Bai Ling's. He planned once Lu Miaoge had reached foundation establishment, to have 2 more children. With both parents at foundation establishment and possessing 5th grade spiritual roots, the children born were likely to have good spiritual roots. After visiting the children, Lu Changxing also returned to his study, preparing for the lottery. He wanted to see what this unexpected lottery chance would yield. System, draw the lottery. Lu Changxing silently commanded in his heart. Watching the familiar lottery will emerge before his eyes, with a slight stir of his spirit, a ray of golden light whisked around rapidly on the lottery wheel. Chapter 387, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade Rui. _1, ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a bottle of Purple Mansion elixir. The reward has been issued to the system space, and the host can check it at any time. The golden light paused on the elixir medicines category. Immediately, an elixir icon emerged from the big roulette, accompanied by a system notification sound. Purple Mansion elixir, a bottle? Lu Changxing looked at the reward he had drawn. He had never heard of this elixir name before. However, the fact that he was given a whole bottle suggested that the effects were probably average, not some rare elixir. With a slight movement of his mental spirit, information about the Purple Mansion elixir appeared in the system space. Elixir, Purple Mansion elixir, quality, 3rd rank, description, can cleanse the spirit's soul, purify the physical body, and strengthen divine sense and physique. 3rd rank elixir, can cleanse the spirit's soul, purify the physical body, and strengthen divine sense and physique. This is good stuff. Now among my body, mana, and divine sense, it's my divine sense that's the weakest. If the Purple Mansion elixir can strengthen my divine sense, it can also make up for this shortcoming, Lu Changxing mused as he looked at the description of the elixir's effects. A smile spread across Lu Changxing's face upon reading about the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir. In the marketplace, 2nd rank elixirs were already hard to come by. And elixirs nourishing the soul and strengthening the divine sense were even rarer. Unless one attended some major auction, it would be very difficult to purchase such elixirs from marketplace shops. As for a 3rd rank elixir like the Purple Mansion elixir, it was even more rare, something ordinary people could not even dream of laying their eyes upon. Extract. Lu Changxing immediately extracted the bottle of Purple Mansion elixir. Suddenly, a white jade bottle appeared in his hand. The detailed introduction about this bottle of Purple Mansion elixir also emerged in his mind. It was more or less the same as the provided description. Nourishes the spirit's soul and the physical body, thereby strengthening the divine sense and physique. And within this bottle, there were a total of 10 Purple Mansion elixirs. Speaking of which, if I feed the elixirs that I win from the lottery to my child, and he breaks through, then the feedback bonus will be given to me. Wouldn't I receive double the gain? Lu Changxing suddenly thought, looking at the Purple Mansion elixir in his hand. It's a pity that in order to consume the Purple Mansion elixir, not only a certain physical foundation is required but also the birth of a divine sense. Basically, only foundation establishment cultivators can consume it. If an energy refining cultivator consumes it, it will only backfire, damaging the body and unsettling the mental spirit. Lu Changxing shook his head and said. If his child were able to consume it now, he naturally would be willing to give it to the child to eat. But alas, his child was still too young and couldn't consume it. Lu Changxing walked out of the study and entered the practice room. He was ready to see the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir. As expected of a 3rd rank elixir, it looks extraordinary, Lu Changxing said as he poured out a Purple Mansion elixir into his palm, admiring it. The elixir was the size of a longan fruit, radiating a flowing light, with colorful purple mists swirling around it, emanating a rich medicinal fragrance that invigorated the spirit when inhaled. After swallowing the elixir, Lu Changxing immediately felt as if his entire body was ignited, his blood boiling, spirit soul scorching hot, almost transforming into a ball of firelight. 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique. Lu Changxing immediately closed his eyes and sat cross-legged, circulating the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art and the Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique to refine this powerful medicinal strength. Boom, 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 his entire body was crystalline, shining with the luster of precious light, his blood roiling, surging and pounding within his body. Meanwhile, his mind, spirit, soul was like a ball of firelight, being scorched continuously, making him feel dizzy and his brain in chaos. Not knowing how long had passed, Lu Changxing felt that the medicinal strength within his body had almost been refined. Phew! He opened his eyes and exhaled lightly. He felt clear-headed and bright-eyed, full of vitality and strength throughout his body. The Purple Mansion Elixir is indeed worthy of being a third-rank elixir, with quite fierce medicinal power. If it weren't for my cultivation of the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art and the Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique, it wouldn't have been easy to assimilate the power of this elixir, Lu Changxing muttered to himself, then proceeded to check his divine sense. He discovered that his divine sense had grown from the original 18 zhang, approximately 54 meters, to almost 33 zhang, approximately 99 meters. Almost a doubling in size. Based on what he knew, the divine sense of an average foundation establishment middle stage cultivator was around 50 zhang, approximately 150 meters. Yet now, with just one elixir, he had already gained around 15 zhang, approximately 45 meters. This effect, this improvement, is simply astounding. If I were to consume and refine all 10 Purple Mansion elixirs, my divine sense could probably be comparable to that of the foundation establishment late stage, Lu Changxing said excitedly. He felt that this bottle of Purple Mansion elixir was better than the previous third stage life-extending pill and coagulation crystal elixir he had drawn. After all, things that bring immediate improvement were the best. As for the lifespan extension pill, he was currently not lacking in lifespan. And the coagulation crystal elixir was still gathering dust in the system space, with no telling when it would come into use. Not just divine sense, my physical body has also improved. But the main effect of the Purple Mansion elixir is in strengthening divine sense, and since I practiced the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, my physical body is comparable to a high-grade magic artifact, so the effect is not very obvious. After refining all 10 Purple Mansion elixirs, I estimate that my 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art could also directly break through to the 4th level. Lu Changxing continued to assess his current physical situation. He could clearly perceive that his physical body had also received a significant enhancement. Only because the Purple Mansion elixir's effects on divine sense were more prominent. While refining this elixir just now, my brain was in chaos, and I have no idea how much time has passed. No wonder they say some elixirs require protection during consumption. Something like the Purple Mansion elixir, if one were disturbed during the process, the consequences would be unimaginable, Lu Changxing remarked and did not continue to consume any more elixirs but walked out of the practice room. Looking at the scenery outside, he realized his eyesight had significantly improved compared to before. The veins on the distant Qingzhou leaves, the ants on the ground, the insects, were all captured clearly by him. Chapter 388, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade rui. Even ordinary walls were almost transparent to his vision. Enhancing divine sense really does have many advantages. Not only for cultivation, but also for battles, and many other aspects. Lu Changxing thought to himself. He knew there were many more wonders to divine sense. For example, with a stronger divine sense than others, one could easily see through their disguises and gauge their cultivation levels. After chatting with his wives and concubines, he realized he had only been in seclusion for 3 days. It hadn't been long at all. After having a meal with his wives, concubines, and children, Lu Changxing announced his intention and began another period of secluded cultivation. He was prepared to consume all 9 remaining Purple Mansion elixirs in one go. 1 month later. Inside the practice room. Boom, Lu Changxing was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, his body emanating a hazy treasured light that bestowed upon him an aura of majesty and sanctity. At this moment, his physical body was undergoing a transformation, breaking through to the fourth level of the 100 Refinements treasure body art. The surging blood chi within his body was constantly flowing, cleansing every inch of his flesh and skin. The commotion grew louder and louder, like a volcanic eruption or the roaring of rivers, and it resembled the sonorous clang of metal on metal. Boom! After who knows how long, a sharp clang resounded within Lu Changsheng's body. He seemed to break free from shackles, as a light unfurled and shone through mountains and rivers. A brilliant, dazzling radiance emanated from within him. Huff! 100 Refinements treasure body art, 4th level. The eyes of the seated Lu Changsheng suddenly snapped open, glowing with a golden treasured light. He stood up, stretching his muscles and bones, producing a crackling sound throughout his body. He quietly felt the changes in his body after the breakthrough. He just felt an inexhaustible strength filling his entire body. With the 4th level of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, my physical body is comparable to top-grade magic artifacts. Now facing ordinary energy refining cultivators, I can boldly try to catch magic artifacts with my bare hands. Lu Changsheng looked at his palms, which were like jade. They were still as white and delicate as ever, yet they exuded an unbreakable quality. Clang, clang, clang. He clenched his fists and collided them lightly, immediately producing a sound like the clash of metal. When he collided them with a bit more force. Bang! A loud sonic boom echoed in the practice room. But sometimes, having too good of a physique isn't a good thing either. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. His wives, concubines, and maids were all mortals and energy-refining cultivators. In comparison to him now, they seemed somewhat fragile, necessitating control of the impact force. My divine sense has finally reached 150 zhang. For ordinary cultivators, just after breaking through to the foundation establishment stage, divine sense is about 10 zhang, in the middle stage around 50 zhang, and in the late stage 150 zhang. Tisk, 10 purple mansion elixirs not only allowed my 100 Refinements treasure body art to break through to the 4th level, but also advanced my divine sense to 150 zhang, comparable to the late foundation establishment stage. Indeed, popping pills is the true path. Reliance on sheer personal effort in cultivation, unless one has a heavenly spiritual root or an earth spirit root, would mean this would be as far as one gets in a lifetime. Lu Changsheng sighed. According to the progress in his 100 Refinements treasure body art, it would have taken about 3 more years to reach the 4th level. This 3-year estimate was already accounting for the assistance of a middle-grade magic artifact and its prototype. If he were to cultivate at a normal pace, it would take 20 to 30 years. However, 10 purple mansion elixirs saved him from such arduous cultivation. As for the divine sense, the effects were even more extraordinary and stunning. If he were to cultivate step by step on his own, it would likely take 60 to 70 years to reach this level of divine sense. Now that I have divine sense at the late stage of foundation establishment, I can also start studying this divine consciousness secret technique. At this point, Lu Changsheng took out a technique jade slip from his storage bag. It was the red phoenix true scripture that he had obtained from the young man in the red robe. Initially, he had only glanced at this technique. It was a technique that veered towards the heretical path. The only thing that impressed him was the divine consciousness secret technique named Soul Dispersion Needle in the Red Phoenix True Scripture. It allowed one to condense divine sense into a soul dispersion needle to launch a divine sense attack against enemies. Back then, both he and Xiao Cs suffered from the soul dispersion needle used by the young man in the red robe. Had it not been for his peach blossom goo guarding his sea of consciousness, the situation would have been dangerous. Now that he possessed divine sense comparable to someone in the late foundation establishment stage, he naturally planned to cultivate this secret technique. In future battles, it would serve as an unexpected and preemptive strike. Reading the cultivation method for soul dispersion needle, its condensation method, and its application, Lu Changsheng spent an hour to understand the principles and steps, and then began to try cultivating it. He sat cross-legged with closed eyes, introspecting his sea of consciousness. He formed a mysterious symbol with his divine sense in the sea of consciousness, with a subtle rhythm. Then, through this symbol, he slowly condensed a red needle. Sometime later. Damn, is it really this hard to condense a single soul dispersion needle? Lu Changxing opened his eyes, somewhat at a loss for words. He had made several attempts, using the power of his divine sense to condense the soul dispersion needle. But each time it failed to take shape before he could even really get started. It was entirely a case of I understand the principle and every step, but I just can't do it. This secret technique is many times more difficult than the flame bullet technique, the spiritual eye technique, or the aura concealment technique I learned before. It's going to be very hard to get the hang of it by figuring it out on my own. Lu Changxing shook his head, knowing full well the difficulty of cultivating a secret technique. This soul dispersion needle required divine sense to follow a mysterious rhythm and form into ancient, intricate runes before slowly condensing into the soul dispersion needle. Every step had to be flawless, and he would have to slowly become proficient with it. Not like the techniques he obtained from the system, which he could master perfectly right away. Forget it, I'll study it later. Chapter 389, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade rui. Lu Changxing shook his head. He was not an ascetic cultivator. He had already been in seclusion for so long. He was not willing to spend several more months focusing solely on the study of secret techniques. He pushed the door and walked out of the practice room. The manifold increase in his divine sense had changed the way he viewed the world. The entire world seemed more vibrant and lively. The vitality of all things rose and fell, each with its distinct charm. Looking up, he saw the great formation that enshrouded Qingzhou Mountain, where mana flowed, transformed, and varied, all following a certain pattern. Now that I have a divine sense comparable to that of late Foundation establishment, if I were to study formation, becoming a first-grade array master shouldn't be difficult, Lu Changxing thought to himself. Many skills, as one's cultivation level and strength increased, became less challenging to grasp. This was especially evident with formations. Array master was a profession with a very high threshold. It was even more dependent on innate talent than talisman making. But with a breakthrough to foundation establishment and the possession of divine sense, learning formations would become much easier. Because divine sense was advantageous for studying pattern details, observing the evolution of great formations, and precisely arranging formations, among other things. However, even with these advantages, advancing to second rank would still take an unknown amount of time and effort. Lu Changxing shook his head. He had no intention of trying to delve into these matters himself. With the time and effort that would take, he might as well have a few more children in the hope of drawing a second-rank formation. Half a month later. Lu Changxing was chatting with Chu Zhenjin in the courtyard, keeping the children company. At that moment, Lu Changxing felt a stream of qi enter his body out of nowhere. He knew it was his son Lu Chuanjun who had completed drawing qi into his body. Indeed, it's not an achievement award for just one child, Lu Changxing murmured to himself. He felt neither disappointed nor perturbed, he was very calm. After all, he had suspected that probably only after 5 or 10 children had completed drawing qi into their bodies would any reward be triggered. Dad, Mom, I've completed drawing qi into my body. Soon after, his son Lu Chuanjun came running over excitedly to share the good news. Indeed, after cultivating, one looks much more handsome and pleasing to the eye. Chu Zhenjin, hearing of her son's successful cultivation, promptly looked at him with joy, pinched his little face, and made Lu Chuanjun show a helpless expression. He felt that his mother, despite her age, still acted like a child and was even more childish than himself. Upon hearing these words, Lu Changxing's mouth twitched slightly. He didn't see how his son had become more handsome. His son grew up in Qingzhou Valley, consuming spirit rice and spiritual meals daily, and began taking elixir medicines to fortify his foundation and nurture his primary qi since the age of 6, virtually stepping one foot into cultivation. So there was no significant change when drawing qi into his body. Congratulations, brother. Congratulations on stepping onto the path of cultivation, brother. The few children beside him revealed looks of envy and voiced their congratulations. Well done. This is your reward from Dad. When you reach the 3rd level energy refinement, you'll be able to control a flying sword. Lu Changxing took a flying sword from his storage bag and handed it to his son. He had gathered a pile of magic artifacts from slaying a robber cultivator in Red Leaf Valley. These artifacts, which he found inconvenient to handle in the Red Leaf Valley market, he had kept with him. Thinking it over, he was too lazy to deal with them anymore. He decided to use them as rewards for his children. After all, these artifacts had no markings and were not forged by any artifact refining master, so they wouldn't be recognized as stolen goods. Thank you, Dad. Lu Quanzhen's eyes lit up at the sight of the flying sword, and his face was full of joy. As a cultivator, who didn't dream of possessing their own flying sword? Previously, when Lu Changxing rewarded a flying sword to Lu Xianji, it made all his siblings envious. Chuanzhen, you must work hard in the future. Chu Zhenjin watched the scene happily, patted her son's head encouragingly. Mom, rest assured. Lu Chuanzhen nodded firmly. After seeing that his son Lu Chuanzhen had completed drawing qi into his body, Lu Changxing stayed a few more days before returning to Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Miaoge had already begun switching her cultivation of the profound water art to the Saturn solar sword technique. But changing cultivation techniques was no small endeavor. Originally, when Lu Changxing was at 7th level energy refinement and cultivating the non-attribute, returning origin technique, it took him 4 months to switch techniques. Although Lu Miaoge's 2 cultivation techniques were both water attribute, switching between them was actually less efficient than for a non-attribute technique like the returning origin technique. With her 9th level energy refinement cultivation, it was estimated she would need about half a year to complete the switch. Half a year later, inside the practice room on Qingzhou Mountain. Phew, I've finally completed the refinement of this 9-treasure jade rui. Lu Changxing looked at the exquisite and smooth 9-treasure jade rui before him, which seemed divinely crafted, and joy appeared on his face. Normally, he would have finished refining the 9-treasure jade rui much earlier, but due to various trivial matters, and the dual cultivation with Xiao Xie and so forth, it was only now he had completed the refinement of this heavenly spiritual treasure. This 9-treasure jade rui is a heavenly spiritual treasure, and I plan to integrate and refine it into my life-bound treasured bone. Therefore, to be safe, it's better to solidify this 9-treasure jade rui into my chest bone. Lu Changxing had long made plans for the 9-treasure jade rui. He intended to consolidate it into his chest bone first. Wait until he broke through the 5th layer of the 100 refinements treasure body technique, then he'd thoroughly integrate the 9-treasure jade rui with the Baogu method into his life-bound treasured bone. Once the life-bound treasured bone was formed, henceforth, the chest bone would be the 9-treasure jade rui, and the 9-treasure jade rui would be his chest bone. In that way, he would be able to attain the 9 great divine abilities of the 9-treasure jade rui permanently. Cha! Lu Changxing unbuttoned his magical robe to reveal his muscular, sculpted chest, and with a light shout, the 100 refinements treasure body art circulated, preparing to extract the black dragon magical bead currently in his chest bone. Chapter 390, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9-treasure jade rui. _4 As the cultivation technique circulated, a treasure light flowed around his chest, and the imprint of the black dragon magical bead gradually surfaced, becoming clearly visible. The treasure light flowed, dazzling and splendid. Flesh crawled as the black dragon magical bead slowly emerged from his chest. This process was exceedingly slow and also extremely painful. After a long time, Lu Changxing finally extracted the black dragon magical bead from his breastbone. Huff puff puff, Lu Changxing rubbed his breastbone, gasping for breath and feeling somewhat fatigued. At this moment, the black dragon magical bead's dark light was dimmed. Inside, the miniature flood dragon was even more listless, on its last breath. Naturally, Lu Changxing knew that this black dragon magical bead, which had accompanied him for 10 years, had its origin source depleted by half. The once middle-grade magical treasure now couldn't even be counted as a lower-grade one, it was only a half-ruined magical treasure. If he continued to use it for cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art, he estimated that in another decade, once the 100 refinements treasure body art was cultivated to the 5th layer, this black dragon magical bead would be completely spent. Merely 10 years have let me cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art from the first layer to now. It was worth it. Lu Changxing looked at the black dragon magical bead in his hand and let out a light breath. He didn't feel any heartache. In his view, this black dragon magical bead had allowed him to cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art to this level in just 10 years, which was quite acceptable. After all, since the magical treasure was integrated into his body, he hadn't spent any time cultivating this technique. It had been entirely automatic. During this period, it had also been used to nurture his treasure bones. Under such circumstances, he could accept a higher cost. He took an elixir medicine and began to circulate his cultivation to recover his state. Just now, extracting the black dragon magical bead had also taken a significant toll on him. What followed, the integration of the 9 treasure jade rui, was also a major undertaking. He had to maintain his peak condition. One day later. Chi. Lu Changxing, fully restored and energized, began to integrate the 9 treasure jade rui into his body. It took him a full 3 days to successfully integrate the 9 treasure jade rui into his body, causing a 9-colored rui pattern to appear on his chest. The instant he completed the integration, Lu Changxing immediately felt an immense force surge from his chest, refining his flesh, blood vessels, and bones. This effect was completely 2 or 3 times that of the black dragon magical bead. The reason it was only 2 to 3 times more was simply because this efficiency had already reached the limit of his physical body. Any further increase would place a burden on his physique. Unworthy as it is to be called a celestial spiritual treasure, with this 9 treasure jade rui, I'm afraid that in 3 or 4 years, my 100 refinements treasure body art will be able to break through the 5th layer. Lu Changxing gently stroked the area on his chest, his joyful eyes revealing a look of anticipation. After all, the 9 great divine abilities of the 9 treasure jade rui were something he coveted greatly. Once the 9 treasure jade rui is refined into his life-bound treasured bone, these 9 divine abilities would also become his innate divine abilities. His strength would then see an overall enhancement. Unlike before with the black dragon magical bead, where the Baogum method after years of nurturing through the magical treasure could only unleash one strike of the treasure bone's power. Once the power of the treasure bones was exhausted, it needed to be nurtured anew. After resting for 3 days, Lu Changxing reintegrated the black dragon treasure bead into his left hand. Although with the 9 treasure jade rui now, whether he needed this black dragon magical bead was irrelevant. But since the 9 treasure jade rui was ultimately to be refined into his life-bound treasured bone, the less origin source that was lost, the better. After finishing his task, he glanced at the golden armor bean mother in his courtyard. Under the nurturing of the 3-colored soil, initial results were showing, as the bean sprouts began to sprout leaves faintly. It should be noted that this golden armor bean mother had only been planted for 2 years. Satisfied with the progress, Lu Changxing nodded and then rode the iron feather eagle back to Red Leaf Valley Market. This half-year, besides occasionally visiting his wife and children in Rui Prefecture, he had been mostly at Qingzhou Mountain or Red Leaf Valley Market. Due to the prior incident with the robber cultivator, the traffic at Red Leaf Valley Market had significantly declined. This had affected the business of his Peace Talisman Hall as well. However, the impact wasn't major. The main income of his shop came from the 5 supreme talismans he issued each month. The total income of the entire shop didn't compare to the profit from these 5 supreme talismans. Sister Miaoga, you have completed your cultivation technique transition. Upon arriving at the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Changxing saw Lu Miaoga and could tell at a glance that her spiritual power had all transformed into the Saturn's solar spiritual energy. I was actually planning to tell you this good news, but I didn't expect you, Changxing, to notice it right away, said Lu Miaoga, her elegant and gentle demeanor as serene as water. I also cultivate this technique, so I can easily sense it, Lu Changxing said with a light laugh. He continued to inquire, Sister Miaoga, how much did your cultivation level get affected by completing the technique transition? Generally, transitioning to a new cultivation technique incurs some loss. This technique and the previously cultivated Xian Yuan Ju are both water attribute cultivation techniques, so the loss wasn't much, roughly 20%, she said. Although 20% was lost, I can feel my spiritual power is 20% more profound, Lu Miaoga said excitedly, her beautiful eyes shimmering. She could clearly sense the sophistication and power of the Saturn Solar Sword technique. That's good, Lu Changxing nodded, thinking the loss was manageable. After all, compared to the foundation increase, this slight setback in cultivation wasn't significant. It could be recovered with a bit more time and effort. Afterward, he also further instructed and taught Lu Miaoga about the cultivation of the Saturn Solar Sword technique, as well as the accompanying techniques. Chapter 391, Encountering the Girl You Like. Bring them all back _1 time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another half-year had passed. Over this half-year, Lu Changsheng's life remained as monotonous yet fulfilling as ever. Every day, he practiced cultivation, crafted talismans, produced offspring, and then dual cultivated with Xiao Xie. In this year, he had 9 more children, bringing the total to 138. And after such a long time of dual cultivation, Xiao Xie's Tao foundation was almost fully restored. Inside the cave abode, accompanied by a low roar and a soft moan, Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xie ended their cultivation. The two quietly embraced each other, savoring the lingering feelings afterwards. Changsheng, after 2 or 3 more times, the cracks and fissures in my Tao foundation should be able to heal, Xiao Xie said softly while snuggled against Lu Changsheng's chest, her face blushing. These 2 or 3 times, naturally, didn't just refer to dual cultivation, but to the restoration of the Tao foundation through the yin-yang energies. Let me take a look. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng took Xiao Xie's wrist and inspected her Tao foundation with his divine sense. The cracks and fissures on the Tao pedestal were almost invisible now. It seems to be really fast. Shiyu, didn't you say that my yin-yang energies not only repair the Tao foundation, but also resonate with your Tao foundation, resulting in a transformation? Can you feel how much longer it will take to undergo this change? Lu Changsheng, playing with the full and silky skin, piled up like snow, asked out loud. I feel that when my Tao foundation is completely repaired, it will undergo some kind of change, Xiao Xie said. Oh, that's quite a fortunate turn of events, congratulations to you, Shiyu, Lu Changsheng chuckled softly. Changsheng, aren't you worried that it'll leave you once my Tao foundation is fully restored? Xiao Xie, seeing the casual look on Lu Changsheng's face, pouted slightly. I've said before, I will respect all of your choices, Lu Changsheng said with a sincere look in his eyes. Humph, Shiyu doesn't believe it. You must be saying one thing and thinking another, convinced that I surely can't escape the palm of your hand, Xiao Xie snorted softly. Her mind was sharp and clear, and having been with Lu Changsheng for so long, she had realized that he was not one to let go easily. Deep down, he was incredibly possessive and imperious. These words were just to comfort herself, not wanting to make herself feel upset. Of course, while I do respect you, how could my love for Shiyu be something I can just let go of so easily, Lu Changsheng said with a wry smile. As the two were having a tender conversation, a system notification sounded in Lu Changsheng's mind. Congratulations to the host for your first offspring to break through to the martial Tao innate, resulting in bloodline effect, 5% increase in the probability of offspring reproduction, and 1 lottery draw opportunity. As the system notification sounded, a surge of vital energy force suddenly entered Lu Changsheng's body out of thin air. This strength of an innate martial artist brought no significant enhancement to Lu Changsheng, who had cultivated the 100 refinements treasure body technique to the 4th level. The improvement it brought was minute. However, compared to the feedback when Lu Xianji and Lu Chuanjin completed their qi introduction, it was much stronger. Pingan has broken through to the innate level, Lu Changsheng paused momentarily in thought. He knew it was his son Lu Pingan who had broken through to the martial Tao innate. When he had returned to Rui Prefecture previously, Lu Pingan had told him that he would be able to break through to the martial Tao innate in a few months. Counting the time, it was indeed about right. It had not occurred to Lu Changsheng that the children's breakthrough to martial Tao innate would also come with system achievement rewards. In the past, when his children practiced martial arts, the system had not prompted anything, and the strength displayed on the panel was marked as none. He had thought that there was no system achievement reward in this regard. Only after the system notification sounded did he realize that only after reaching the martial Tao innate does it meet the condition for triggering achievement rewards. It seems that in the system achievements, one is considered to have only started martial arts upon the breakthrough to the innate level, corresponding to a cultivator's introduction of qi into the body. For ordinary people, achieving the martial Tao innate is extremely difficult, but for me, as long as I am willing to spend money and the children are willing to train, they can basically achieve the martial Tao innate by the age of 20. Indeed, the system achievement rewards cannot depend solely on having children. It is necessary to foster their development, Lu Changxing thought to himself. He had his children practice martial arts, partly with the idea of enhancing his own martial strength. However, as his own strength improved, he became less focused on this idea. Raising his children in martial arts had more to do with strengthening their bodies. Moreover, it gave them the ability to protect themselves in case of danger in the secular world. Previously it was the increase in probability of spiritual root amongst the offspring, now it's an increase in the probability of offspring reproduction. Every time a cultivator breaks through a cultivation realm, reproduction becomes more difficult. I wonder how significant this 5% probability increase is. Moreover, this increase in probability is probably only on my part, but the difficulty of cultivators conceiving increases after gaining strength, and it's the same for both male and female cultivators. Lu Changxing, looking at the increase of 5% probability for offspring reproduction on the system prompt, pondered silently. He knew that each major realm breakthrough made reproduction more difficult for cultivators. But he had no way to judge just how much more difficult it had become. And there were no records of this in the cultivation world. After all, everyone practices different cultivation techniques, condenses different Tao foundations, has different personal situations, and the final outcomes could be different. Moreover, not many cultivators would study such matters. Changxing, what's wrong? Just then, Xiaoxia noticed Lu Changxing was slightly lost in thought and asked. Nothing, I was just thinking about something. Lu Changxing, hearing Xiaoxia's voice, immediately came back to reality and chuckled. Hearing his response, Xiaoxia did not inquire further. The two continued to chat leisurely for a while and then lay down to sleep in each other's arms. The next day, Lu Changxing left Xiaoxia's cave abode and went to his own peace talisman hall. Chapter 392, Encountering the Girl You Like. Bring them all back. Although he did not often come here, he still had his own meditation room and talisman room on the 3rd floor. System, draw a lottery. After arriving at the 3rd floor meditation room, Lu Changxing silently evoked in his heart. Immediately, the system's lottery wheel appeared. Start the draw. Then, a golden light began to rapidly spin on the lottery wheel. Moments later, the golden light slowly came to a stop on other. Ding! Congratulations to the host on obtaining the goo insect Hope Goo. The reward has been sent to the system space, and the host can check it at any time. A thumb-sized pattern, resembling a light orb, emerged from the big wheel along with the sound of a system prompt. Goo insect, Hope Goo. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow upon seeing this reward. Having the peach blossom goo before, he subconsciously felt good about goo insects. After all, among the more than 20 previous lottery items, the peach blossom goo could be considered a good reward. It not only improved one's appearance and temperament but also subtly enhanced one's peach blossom luck. It could also guard the sea of consciousness, fear no other goo insect effects, and resist divine sense attacks. Just the name Hope Goo sounds strange. Lu Changxing muttered to himself, unable to guess the effect of the goo based on the name alone. Right away, his mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked toward the system space. Goo insect, Hope Goo, quality, celestial spiritual goo, description, a miraculous goo naturally born between heaven and earth that can endow mortals with enlightenment and give birth to the spiritual root. As long as there is hope, miracles can happen, enabling mortals to gain enlightenment and produce spiritual roots. Lu Changxing's heart skipped a beat upon seeing the explanation for the Hope Goo. Long ago, he had perused books looking for information on how mortals could cultivate and beget spiritual roots. But there were no relevant records at all. He knew that it was virtually impossible for mortals to practice cultivation. And treasures that could bestow spiritual roots on mortals could only be encountered after reaching the nascent soul stage. Although he had thought that with the system, he might obtain such treasures and enable mortals to practice cultivation and develop spiritual roots, Lu Changxing did not hold too much hope. After all, where there's hope, there can also be disappointment. Of course, Lu Changxing could not deny that he did not have a strong obsession with this aspect. Hope goo. A ray of hope, huh? Lu Changxing, looking at the hope goo in the system space, recalled taking Lu Pingan and others to test for spiritual roots. After finding no spiritual roots, the children returned home with downcast faces. Then Lu Pingan looked up with hopeful eyes and asked if one couldn't become a cultivator without a spiritual root. This hope goo, can it only enlighten one person, or? Lu Changsheng's mental spirit stirred slightly and he extracted the hope goo from the system. Suddenly, the hope goo, the size of a thumb and resembling an orb of light, appeared in his hand. The details about the hope goo entered his mind. Just like the peach blossom goo, it could only be used once, enabling a person to gain enlightenment and produce a spiritual root. As for the quality of the engendered spiritual root, it would depend on the individual's circumstances, and be influenced by one's physical condition and the intensity of hope in their heart. Besides enlightenment and the production of spiritual roots, the hope goo had another effect. That is, in the face of desperate situations, as long as hope remained unextinguished in one's heart, the goo could forcibly trigger one's potential. Sigh. I'll give this hope goo to Pingan. Lu Changxing looked at the hope goo in his hand and let out a breath. He planned to give the hope goo to his eldest son, Lu Pingan. This was his first son. He had been brought up from a young age, to whom he had devoted much affection. Moreover, this son had always been a source of pride and peace of mind. Now that Lu Pingan had broken through to the martial Dao innate and obtained a lottery draw, it seemed like a stroke of fate that he got the hope goo. However, the hope goo's ability to enlighten mortals and engender spiritual roots is too shocking to the world. If I use the hope goo to enlighten Pingan now, it might attract trouble. And there's the issue of inequality, not just scarcity. The hope goo is just one, only able to grant a spiritual root to one person. Other children, who once thought spiritual roots were innate and had accepted reality, may now become upset and resentful upon seeing Pingan with a spiritual root. Therefore, the existence of the hope goo must absolutely be kept a secret. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. He knew many of his children had dreams of cultivation. Or rather, having been born on Qingzhou Mountain and raised in such an environment, it was impossible for them not to aspire to become cultivators. But since spiritual roots are innate and they didn't possess them, accepting reality was their only option. If they saw that he enabled Lu Pingan to develop a spiritual root, it would easily upset the balance. Even his wives, upon knowing that he possessed such an object and chose to give it to Lu Pingan, would feel uncomfortable, even if they did not voice it. Pingan has just broken through to the innate level and is preparing to travel abroad for trials. It's a good opportunity for him to temper himself. Later on, he'll see how things go and decide whether to give him the hope goo. As for the hope goo matter, there's no need to let anyone know. After all, not every cup of water can be leveled. Lu Changxing did not think much of it. He was no longer the kind of person who would become overly anxious or sentimental over such issues. He already had plans for the hope goo in his mind. He prepared to wait until Lu Pingan went out to experience the world, and after some tempering, he would then decide whether to give him the hope goo. Moreover, what he had in mind was that if he used the hope goo to open Lu Pingan's spiritual aperture and birth a spiritual root, his eldest son would have to live outside under a different identity from then on. He could no longer appear before the world as Lu Pingan. A man is not guilty for carrying a gem, but the gem makes him a target. I should also visit Rui Prefecture later. Chapter 393, Encountering the Girl You Like. Bring them all back. Lu Changxing took out a jade box, stored the hope goo inside, and then placed it into the spiritual pet bag. Initially, when Lu Pingan said he wanted to go out for training experiences, he told him to break through to the innate level first. Now that he had broken through to innate, he naturally wouldn't say much more. But with his son leaving home, as a father, there were naturally some things he needed to explain. After speaking with Lu Miaoge and Xiao Xia, Lu Changxing rode the Iron Feather Eagle back to Qingzhou Mountain. After dealing with some minor matters and staying for half a month on Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing took Bai Ling with him to Rui Prefecture. By now, Bai Ling's cultivation level had reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. It was estimated that before long, she would break through to the 4th level of qi refinement. This rate of progress was truly astonishing. Lu Changxing guessed that his earlier assumption of Bai Ling having a high-grade spiritual root was actually an underestimation. Given Bai Ling's speed of cultivation, she was likely to reach perfection in qi refinement and be ready for foundation establishment in her 20s. Linger, aren't you bored being at Qingzhou Mountain every day? As the Iron Feather Eagle soared through the sky, Lu Changxing asked Bai Ling, not at all. Everyone here is so nice. Sister Yun, Sister Jinjin, Sister Zhiyue, they all treat me so well, and Rui, Xiaoru, Qing Shan, and Xiao Zhu often play with me too. Upon hearing this, Bai Ling immediately responded cheerfully. In her eyes, Qingzhou Mountain was nothing short of a paradise on earth. Not only did they not dislike or shun her here, but they also liked her very much, took care of her, and played with her. So, after spending a little over a year on Qingzhou Mountain, Bai Ling's personality had become much more cheerful. She was no longer the same as before, socially anxious and tense when meeting people, her face timid and afraid. Of course, this cheerfulness was currently limited to being within Lu Changxing's estate. In front of the wives, maids, and children of Lu Changxing. Once she stepped outside the estate, facing other people on Qingzhou Mountain, she became quiet and reticent again. But it was already much better than before. That's good. If there's anything, you can talk directly to your sister Yun. If it's not convenient, you can also talk directly to your brother. Seeing Bai Ling's happy face, Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile gently. He rubbed the little girl's head, which was adorned with 2 buns. This had become a habit of his. And Bai Ling thoroughly enjoyed being affectionately rubbed on the head by him. 3 days later, the two arrived at Rui County City. Walking along the bustling streets of Rui County City, witnessing the passing crowds, the little girl became instantly nervous, holding tightly to Lu Changxing's hand. Big brother is here. Seeing this, Lu Changxing gently squeezed her soft little hand and smiled warmly. Looking at Lu Changxing's handsome and unsurpassed appearance, his dashing and transcendent aura, and his warm and gentle smile, Bai Ling pursed her lips, feeling much of her tension dissipate. It was only with Lu Changxing by her side that she dared to walk on such a busy street filled with people coming and going. If she were alone, she wouldn't have stepped out in a place with so many people. My lord. Mississippi. The two arrived at the Lu residence. The steward and guards at the entrance of the residence promptly greeted them with a bow. Lu Changxing nodded his head and entered the mansion with Bai Ling, dad. Husband, Linger. Returning home was naturally a bustling affair. All the wives and children came to greet them. The first batch of children had all grown quite a bit. They no longer clung affectionately like they did when they were little, eager to be hugged. As for the younger batch of children, due to spending less time together, their relationship with Lu Changxing as a father was relatively less intimate. They greeted their father with respectful salutes. After briefly caring for and greeting his wives and children, and seeing that most of the people had dispersed, Lu Changxing looked towards his son Lu Pingan, who had been standing silently by the side. Pingan, why are you standing there looking lost? Is there something you want to talk to Dad about? Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle. He knew his son wanted to tell him about his breakthrough to the innate level. But he hadn't spoken up as there were always people around. Dad, I've broken through to the innate level. Lu Pingan immediately said with a beaming smile. Breaking through to the innate level, not bad, worthy of being my son. I remember you're just over a month shy of turning 16. TSK, breaking through to the martial Dao innate level before 16, you'd be considered a genius in the martial world. Lu Changxing patted his son's shoulder and said with a beaming smile, observing his son closely. Thanks to practicing martial arts from a young age, Lu Pingan had a very robust stature. But he didn't appear overly muscular, exuding a feel of being tall and vigorous. His height was almost 1.75 meters, only slightly shorter than him. He guessed in another 2 years, the boy would catch up with him. The son's appearance couldn't be considered handsome, only fair. And he only bore a slight resemblance to his father's profile. This was entirely due to Lu Changxing practicing the Immortal beauty technique and the improvements from peach blossom goo. Moreover, Lu Pingan's features were fair with a hint of firmness and toughness. While Lu Changxing himself was handsome and transcendent, smooth and jade-like. The father and son exuded completely different temperaments. Hee, it's all thanks to your upbringing, Dad. If it weren't for eating spirit rice and spiritual meals every day, how could my martial arts have progressed so quickly? Lu Pingan scratched his head and said with a wide grin. You mentioned before that you wanted to travel, and Dad told you to wait until you've broken through to innate. Now that you've achieved innate, Dad naturally won't stop you. Do you have any plans in mind? Lu Changxing sat down with his son on the side and asked aloud. In truth, he wasn't very reassured about Lu Pingan's journey outside. Because his son had a kind and honest nature. Under Lu Lanshu's education, although he had become somewhat shrewd, he was still straightforward. Chapter 394, Encountering the Girl You Like. Bring them all back _4. I don't have any grand plans, just thinking of visiting Grandpa Li's place first. Instructor Zhao, Instructor Mu, and Uncle Li, Uncle Hong have all said that the Jianghu is dangerous. Before, Uncle Li mentioned that if I wanted to go out and travel, I could first go to the Crimson Whale Gang to see the perils of Jianghu and then decide whether or not I want to venture far. Lu Pingan spoke honestly. It's good that you have this idea. Going to the Crimson Whale Gang to gain some experience is also a good start. Hong Yi nodded in agreement upon hearing this. Because of their relationship with Hong Yi and Li Feiyu, the three families had much more interaction with each other. Under the care of Hong Yi, Li Feiyu's Crimson Whale Gang had been thriving, consistently handling Jianghu affairs for the Rui Marquis Mansion. It was not a bad idea for Lu Pingan to gain some experience at the Crimson Whale Gang. At least he would face some real situations. Otherwise, letting his son wander around aimlessly was something he, as a father, couldn't be at ease with. Dad, there's just Mom's side that he'll need you to talk to. Lu Pingan scratched his head, looking somewhat embarrassed as he spoke. What, she learned you wanted to travel and she objected, didn't she? Lan Shu burst into laughter upon hearing this. His wife Lu Lanshu had the demeanor of a well-brought-up lady and naturally disliked her son engaging in fights and killings. Especially since Lu Pingan was the eldest son, she always hoped that he would read more, learn to conduct himself in society, and manage family affairs. Initially, she had consented to allow the child to practice martial arts because Lanshu had said all the children were training for the sake of strengthening their bodies and maintaining health. Otherwise, she would be reluctant to let Lu Pingan be engrossed in martial arts training. I mentioned it to Mom before. Not only did she refuse, but she also said that I'm not getting any younger and asked me what I think of Sister Schwer. But I've always seen Sister Schwer as if she were my own sister. Lu Pingan said, feeling helpless. The Sister Schwer he referred to was named Li Schwer, the daughter of Li Feiyu. She was 2 years younger than Lu Pingan, gentle and sensible, also favored by Lu Lanshu. Therefore, she also wished for this young girl to become her daughter-in-law. However, your mother is also right, you're indeed not young anymore. Lanshu stroked his chin and said. In this world, being married at 16 was considered normal. Although Li Schwer was still a little young, Lanshu had brought up the matter to set things in motion early on. Dad, upon hearing this, Lu Pingan's face immediately fell. All right, I'll talk to her about your mom's side in a bit. However, it's true that you're old enough to start considering these things. If you don't like Schwer, that's fine, after all, you grew up together. When you go out to travel in the Jianghu in the future, if you meet a girl you like, be sure to bring her back, you understand? Lan Shu said cheerfully. Although his children's children would also bring benefits to him, he might even be eligible for system achievement rewards. But Lan Shu would not pressure his children to marry and have children. If they were willing, that would be the best. He would give them considerable support and substantial rewards. If they didn't want to, he wouldn't force them, just letting things take their natural course. Yes, Dad. Seeing his father also address the matter, Lu Pingan's face showed resignation, as if he had deflated. Don't look so down. Dad's not forcing you, just don't let a good match pass you by. Let's go, I'll talk to your mother. Lan Shu, seeing his son like this, gave the boy's head an affectionate yet exasperated tap. He suddenly understood the feelings of parents who urged their children to marry. If Lu Pingan wasn't getting married now, he wouldn't be in a hurry or worried. After all, he was still young. He had several children too. But if his children grew older and he only had 1 or 2 kids, then surely he would be a bit anxious. Soon after, the two of them came to the backyard. Lan Shu. Lan Shu looked towards his wife Lu Lan Shu. Lu Lan Shu was the same age as him. They had been married for nearly 17 years now. Although she didn't look as youthful as he did, still in his 20s, she had taken beautifying elixirs and, thanks to the nourishment of spirit rice over a long period, her skin was white and delicate, her face as tender and lovely as a lotus flower, relatively untouched by the traces of time. Her figure was also slender and graceful, showing no signs of having given birth to 3 children. My lord, Pingan. Lu Lan Shu, seeing her husband and son, walked forward gracefully. Her hair was neatly coiffed, adorned with a jade hairpin on the side. Dressed in a light turquoise palace gown, she exuded an air of dignified grace. As the wife of Lan Shu, she had come to manage many affairs of the Lu residence, developing an air of majestic elegance. Lan Shu, I already know about what's concerning Pingan. He's not young anymore. Since he wants to go out and see the world, let's allow him. Lan Shu looked at his wife, taking her hand, and spoke warmly. He understood his wife's sentiments. She hoped that Lu Pingan would inherit the family's secular business. Upon hearing this, Lu Lan Shu immediately glared at her son, causing Lu Pingan to lower his head, unable to look at his mother. She bit her lip and said, My lord, I really can't rest at ease with Pingan's character. If he goes out, who knows what will happen with all the fighting and killing out there. Her reluctance to let Lu Pingan go out was not solely because she wanted her son to settle down early and take over the family business, but also because she knew what her son was like, easy to take advantage of and too naive for the outside world. Lan Shu, I understand how you feel. You hope for Pingan to be safe and sound. I, too, wish for Pingan to always be safe, which was why I chose his name with that intention. But an eagle must eventually soar to the heavens, facing the abyss, the winds and the waves, alone. It's an essential part of growing up. Although Pingan could avoid these experiences, it's also a good thing if he's willing to face them. That way, I can trust him with more responsibilities in the future. Lan Shu smiled gently, speaking to his wife. After a bit of casual conversation, Lu Lan Shu finally nodded in agreement. Though it was extremely hard for her to let go, if Lan Shu spoke up, she couldn't continue to object. After all, Lan Shu was the head of the family. Chapter 395, Xiao Xia is pregnant, revealing second-rank talisman making. _1. At the Lu residence's back courtyard, the training ground. This is a low-grade attack talisman. Activate it with your true qi, then shoot it towards the target. Lu Changxing took out a stack of talismans, letting his son Lu Pingan get acquainted with their use. Since the child was going to travel far, as a father, he naturally prepared some self-defense measures. This was also one of the reasons he had Lu Pingan break through to Martial Dao Innate before leaving. Once Martial Dao Innate is achieved, a martial artist's true qi can also activate first-grade, middle-grade and low-grade talismans. Yes, Dad, after hearing this, Lu Pingan took a fire bullet talisman and activated it with his true qi. Instantly, the talisman transformed into a fire bullet and shot towards the iron target ahead. With a bang, the iron target melted from the hit of the fire bullet. Hiss, such formidable power. If I were to be hit by this fire bullet, I fear I'd turn to ash. Lu Pingan was surprised at the fire bullet's power, his eyes filled with shock. He knew cultivators were very formidable. But he had never seen a cultivator's methods before. Now seeing the power of a simple talisman, he couldn't help but be astonished. That's why when you're out and about, if you encounter a cultivator you must be extremely careful. If you meet a cultivator and there's no mortal enmity, you can also mention Qingzhou Mountain's name, Lu Changxing said. Although Qingzhou Mountain was only a foundation establishment family, such cultivation families still held a certain reputation and prestige in the secular world. Just like before, Hong Yi had also heard of Qingzhou Mountain's renown. Dad, I understand, Lu Pingan nodded earnestly. This is a fire cloud talisman, you must be very careful when using this talisman, otherwise, it's easy to injure yourself. This is a rejuvenation insignia. If you're injured, you can use the rejuvenation insignia to stop the bleeding and heal wounds. This is a wooden shield talisman, which can transform into a wooden shield for defense. This is a windwalking talisman. If you encounter danger, you can use it on yourself or on your horse to speed up. These types of talismans belong to the defensive and assistance category. They won't hurt you, so you don't need to be so cautious. Lu Changxing informed his son about the remaining types of talismans and reminded him to remember their effects. Dad, these many talismans, aren't they very expensive? Lu Pingan, seeing the thick stack of talismans his father had, probably 40 or 50 sheets, asked. Although he didn't understand much about cultivation, he occasionally interacted with those involved in that world and knew that cultivation materials were very precious. Have you forgotten that your dad is a talisman master? Lu Changxing gave his son a tap on the head. After Lu Pingan practiced using each kind of talisman and understood their effects, Lu Changxing handed him several vials and pots. They contained elixirs for healing wounds, recharging energy, among others. Although they were nothing to cultivators, they were all treasures within the secular world. This pendant has a calming and protective effect. Remember, if this pendant activates automatically, you must run away immediately, understand? This soft armor is impenetrable by blade or spear, and it also has a protective effect. Remember to wear it against your skin at all times. Lu Changxing then took out 2 magic artifacts. These 2 artifacts were also carefully selected from those he had acquired at the Red Leaf Valley Market before. He didn't give more, not because he was reluctant to do so. One reason was to not attract attention. These 2 artifacts could be worn on the body without others easily noticing. Moreover, most magic artifacts required mana to activate. Martial artists simply couldn't employ magic artifacts. Having these 2 was enough. Thank you, Dad. Lu Pingan looked at the purple jade pendant and the silkworm soft armor in front of him, his face showing joy. I don't need to elaborate the principle of not showing wealth, right? Lu Changxing spoke out. Dad, rest assured, I understand these things. Lu Pingan used a nod to convey his understanding. Let's go, let's pick out a good horse at your Uncle Hong's, Lu Changxing said to his son. They then went to the Rui Marquis mansion, where he caught up and chatted with Hong Yi. He talked about his son Lu Pingan and also about his son Lu Wuyu, asking Hong Yi to make arrangements. Hearing these words, Hong Yi naturally agreed to each request with pleasure. After staying in Rui Prefecture for more than half a month, sorting out various family matters, Lu Changxing finally took Bai Ling back to Qingzhou Mountain. 2 months later. Red Leaf Valley Market. Inside a cave dwelling, Lu Changxing and Xiao Xie finished dual cultivation. Pop. Xiao Xie rose and sat cross-legged, her visage cool, pure, majestic, and utterly sacred. Her ice-fleshed and jade-boned figure, with undertones of rosiness, looked like a fairy's form, a perfectly crafted work of art, too beautiful for words, bathed in a faint moonlight glow. Her graceful and elegant composure was filled with a holy air. Seeing this, Lu Changxing knew that Xiao Xie's Dao Foundation flaw had been perfected through his efforts and was now flawless. At that moment, with the Dao Foundation restored, a mysterious transformation had started happening to it, beginning to evolve. He sat quietly by her side, waiting for Xiao Xie to awaken. Time passed slowly. Half a month later. The long-lashed, meditating Xiao Xie fluttered her eyelids and slowly opened her cool moon-like eyes. Changsheng, seeing Lu Changsheng in front of her, her eyes immediately softened. "Shiyu, congratulations," Lu Changsheng said with a faint smile, sensing the subtle changes in her aura, aware that her Tao foundation had evolved. "It's all thanks to Lu Lang." Xiao Xie's eyes brimmed with happiness, her gaze tender and joyful. A Tao foundation is the basis of one's cultivation. The more robust the Tao foundation, the further one can go in the future. Now, not only was her Taiyin mysterious moon Tao foundation flawlessly repaired, it had also experienced a mysterious change under the baptism of the yin-yang energies, advancing even further. Chapter 396, Xiao Xie is pregnant, revealing second-rank talisman making. Naturally, it filled her with unparalleled joy. "Hee, this is our joint effort." Lu Changsheng smiled. Then, curious, he asked, "Shiyu, what transformation has your Tao foundation undergone?" "My Tao foundation is now known as the Lunar Primordial Spirit Foundation. It allows me to absorb and refine nature's spiritual energy at an increased rate. And I can consume my origin source to transform nature's spiritual energy into lunar mana for my own replenishment." Xiao Xie spoke out, describing the effects of her Tao foundation's transformation. The increased rate of absorbing and refining nature's spiritual energy, and the ability to consume the origin source to transform nature's spiritual energy into lunar mana. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng nodded his head. He knew this effect sounded simple, but it was astonishing. The speed of absorbing and refining nature's spiritual energy improved both Xiao Xie's cultivation speed and recovery rate. And converting nature's spiritual energy into lunar mana meant that in times of crisis, when mana was low, she could replenish it quickly. After all, not all cultivators were like him, with a profound origin bead at their side, free to use mana as they pleased. Most cultivators had to consider their mana consumption on a regular basis. Between two cultivators of the same rank, the one with deeper and more enduring mana would have a greater advantage. "Not bad, it seems much more powerful than my yin-yang 5 elements foundation base," Lu Changsheng said cheerfully. "How could it compare to Lu Lang?" Xiao Xie leaned her pretty head against Lu Changsheng's chest and whispered softly. Indeed, after its transformation, her Tao foundation produced remarkable effects. But to her, the effects of Lu Changsheng's Tao foundation, which could repair someone else's Tao foundation, were even more astonishing. "Shiyu, what are your plans next?" Lu Changsheng inquired of Xiao Xie. From their previous conversation, he knew Xiao Xie had come down the mountain on an approved mission for external experience. She couldn't stay out forever. Now that her Tao foundation's cracks were mended, she was likely preparing to return to the sect. Xiao Xie was holding Lu Changsheng's slender and jade-like palm, comparing the sizes of their hands. Upon hearing this, she lifted her pretty head and, with a pitiable look, said, "Is Lu Lang finding me bothersome, wanting to send me away?" "I never said that, I'd actually prefer you to stay by my side forever," Lu Changsheng said with a light chuckle, sniffing the fragrance from Xiao Xie's hair. "Humph." Xiao Xie let out a coquettish grunt, her fair cheeks blushing as she spoke softly. "Lu Lang, wouldn't it be nice if Shiyu bore you a child?" "What?" Lu Changsheng was taken aback, thinking he had heard wrong. But he immediately guessed Xiao Xie's thoughts. Did she feel that she couldn't repay the favor and wanted to have his child as compensation? "Shiyu, there's no need for that." Lu Changsheng frowned slightly. He did fancy the idea of having a few children with Xiao Xie. See what the children's spiritual root talent would be. But feelings develop over time. After so many years together, they had built quite a relationship. To bear children simply to repay a debt of gratitude, he was unwilling to do so. Moreover, a child and the child's mother were things he could distinguish between. "It's not about repaying Lu Lang's favor with this, I just genuinely want to have a child with Lu Lang. That way, Even if Xiyu is gone in the future, this child can stay by Lu Lang's side. Xiao Xie pursed her lips and spoke softly, sharing her thoughts. Back in Qingyun Market, Lu Changxing had jokingly said if she felt bad, they should have a few children. After hearing that, the idea planted itself in her heart and started to grow. Gradually, she began to feel there was sense in what Lu Changxing had said. Have a child to commemorate their relationship. If she were gone, the child would remain by Lu Changsheng's side for companionship. As for concerns about leaving and the child lacking a mother, she had come to terms with it. Firstly, with Lu Changxing around, the child would surely not be bullied. Additionally, it wasn't as if she would sever all ties with Lu Changxing and leave after giving birth. Only when preparing to attempt core formation would she need to truly penetrate the void of delusions and forget all attachments. She would still get to watch the child grow up. Furthermore, after all her experiences, she came to believe that forgetting all attachments didn't necessarily mean completely abandoning love and affection. Xiyu, if you have a child, won't your master blame you? Lu Changxing voiced his concern. Having a child was an affair that wasn't too problematic for female cultivators, though it still had significant impacts. 3 months into pregnancy, cultivation would become nearly impossible. In the later stages, it would affect their cultivation level, leaving them in a weakened state. And after giving birth, they'd need to recover their vital energy for about a year or so. While the impact might seem negligible, for cultivators, the nature of this was different. After all, the prime age for giving birth is also the best age for cultivation. If they have several children, that time could be considered wasted. It would require much effort to make up for the lost time. And Lu Changxing felt her master would blame her for a simple reason. The relationship between a master and disciple in this world was very intimate, like that of parents. Any parent seeing their child with a promising future suddenly have a baby might feel discontent. Especially within an immortal sect like Qingyun sect. This was not just about having a child, but also about the disciple's heart for cultivation and worldly attachments. Well, just keep it a secret from my master. Xiao Xie said, her eyes downcast and her voice slightly guilty. She didn't dare let her master, Yun Wansheng, know about this matter. After all, she had previously sworn adamantly that she could break free from all ties with Lu Changxing. Chapter 397. If Master knew how deep I've fallen, that I'm even having a child with Lu Changxing, I dare not even imagine what she would do. Even if Master dotes on me, she would probably be furious. Hee, what if your master finds out? Lu Changxing looked at Xiao Xie with a smile and said. If you don't want to, then forget it. Xiao Xie retorted with a snort. It took her a great deal of courage to say these words. After so many years of anticipation. She had waited until the day her Dao foundation was fully repaired to tell Lu Changxing. Willing, I'm naturally willing. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly, leaned down gently, and captured Xiao Xie's lips. Now that she had expressed her feelings so clearly, he had no reservations anymore. Having a child, it would add yet another bond between him and Xiao Xie, another concern. In the following time, Lu Changxing spent most of his days in the Hongya marketplace, devoting himself to Xiao Xie. Perhaps because both were foundation establishment cultivators, getting pregnant was much more difficult. After over a month of effort without any reaction. Having no other choice, Lu Changxing had to resort to his secret technique, the 5 aggregates proliferation method. This secret method could be practiced by men to increase the likelihood of pregnancy. Women could also practice it to boost their chances. Both partners cultivating together would naturally double the effect. Changxing, I think I'm pregnant. And so, after another month of effort, Xiao Xie felt the signs of pregnancy and happily told Lu Changxing. We're pregnant. At her words, delight immediately shone on Lu Changxing's face. Xiao Xie had a 4th grade spiritual root and a moonlight spirit body and was also a foundation establishment cultivator. He too was a foundation establishment cultivator, with a 5th grade spiritual root and a Gingjin spirit body. Under such conditions, the chances were high that the child would be extraordinarily talented. Therefore, regarding the child in Xiao Xia's womb, he couldn't help but harbor some expectations. He looked forward to the child bringing them surprises. Very good, Xiu, take extra care of yourself from now on. Is there anything in particular you want to eat? Lu Changxing said warmly. I know. Seeing Lu Changxing so happy and excited, Xiao Xia couldn't help but show a slightly annoyed smile on her gorgeous face. She thought to herself that Lu Changxing truly loved children. Normally, when they were together, she seldom saw him so thrilled and excited. Afterward, Lu Changxing spent some time chatting with Xiao Xia, mentioning some prenatal care tips. He took her out of the cave dwelling to stroll around the streets and relax. After all, now that she was pregnant, maintaining both physical and mental health was a must. As a second-rank talisman master, it's about time I made it known. After spending time with Xiao Xia, Lu Changxing considered his progress in talisman making. He felt that the time was about right. Now that Xiao Xia was pregnant, he would need to devote more thought to this matter, and there was no point in delaying any further. Being a second-rank talisman master would make acting more convenient. Soon after, Lu Changxing went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. After a chat with Lu Miaoge, and some conversation, he entered the talisman room and began crafting talismans. After a long while, Lu Changxing stepped out of the talisman room with a newly crafted second-rank talisman in hand, a look of excitement and joy on his face. Sister Miaoge, I did it. I've successfully crafted a second-rank talisman. Lu Changxing stated, his face lit up with joy and excitement. He handed the second-rank talisman he held to Lu Miaoge for inspection. A second-rank talisman. Changxing, you've succeeded. Lu Miaoge, her delicate and gentle features first stunned, then lit up with excitement too. She had always kept an eye on Lu Changxing's progress in talisman crafting. Knowing that he was just one step away from becoming a second-rank talisman master, she believed fervently that he could take that step. But hearing now that Lu Changxing had advanced to a second-rank talisman master still felt surreal, causing an irrepressible excitement and joy. After all, the difference between first grade and second rank was like a chasm, vast as that between qi refinement and foundation establishment. Now, having crossed this chasm and ascending from first grade to second-rank talisman master, how could she, his wife, not be thrilled? Changxing, I always knew you could do it, that you would make it. Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Changxing with sparkling eyes, full of tenderness and love. This time was just a fluke. But I believe, with time, I will be able to fully master this second-rank Thunder Fire talisman. Lu Changxing spoke, his voice carrying a hint of confidence. He, too, considered himself somewhat accomplished by now. If he kept being too modest, always speaking of luck, it would seem fake. Yes, I believe you can do it, Changxing. I'll go and inform the family head, fourth elder, and our ancestors about this news, Lu Miaoge said excitedly. Advancing to second-rank talisman master was an event that would merit a celebration for the whole Qingzhou mountain. I'll return to Qingzhou mountain in a few days. So I'll tell grandma myself when the time comes. Lu Changxing said with a smile. He could imagine the fourth elder's feelings upon hearing about his promotion to second-rank talisman master. The old man had always believed in him and eagerly anticipated the day he would become a second-rank talisman master. All right, it is best for you to tell grandma in person. Lu Miaoge nodded, her face still beaming with happiness. She also knew that the fourth elder would be overjoyed to hear the news. Once she calmed her emotions, she began examining the second-rank Thunder Fire talisman in Lu Changxing's hands. The lines on the talisman were not as smoothly executed as they could be, and the spiritual power was a bit unstable, making it seem slightly rough. But it was indeed a genuine second-rank talisman. Lu Miaoge held it in her hands, examining it over and over. The more she looked, the happier she became. Seeing his wife so, Lu Changxing felt a deep satisfaction in his heart. Chapter 398, Grand Ceremony Celebration, promoted to 4th grade spiritual route. 1. 3 days later. Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Husband, Sister Miaoge. Dad, Mom, Auntie. Seeing Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge return, the wives and children of the Lu family instantly created a commotion. Reunions with family were always bustling, and after chatting and eating a meal together, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge stood up to pay their respects to the fourth elder. They were prepared to share the news of becoming a second-rank talisman master with the fourth elder. Yuner, call little Yuner and come visit grandma with me. Lu Changsheng also called for his wife, Lu Miaoyun, and son, Lu Yun. Lately, the fourth elder's favorite had been her own son, Lu Yun. Lu Yun had also turned 12, and 2 months earlier, he had begun qi refinement, achieving the induction of qi into the body. Now, he had 4 children who had begun cultivation, achieving the induction of qi into the body. But there was no new achievement reward triggered. This made Lu Changsheng quietly wonder in his heart if the number had to reach 10 to trigger subsequent draws. At the same time, he was curious if his children could obtain a draw reward if they broke through to the middle stage of qi refinement. Yes, husband. Lu Miaoyun was not at all surprised. Every time Lu Changsheng returned, he would pay a visit to the fourth elder. She immediately called over her son Lu Yun. However, hearing the news, their daughter Lu Yu also followed along. Facing this, she naturally wouldn't refuse and brought along the several children. The group arrived at the fourth elder's courtyard. Changsheng, Yuner, Miaoge, why have all of you come? The fourth elder, with her hair elegantly coiffed into a silver bun, was dressed in a deep azure robe, basking in the sun in the backyard. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng and the others, a smile immediately graced her face. We've come to see you. Lu Changsheng said with a smile. Great grandma. The children approached the elderly woman and sweetly called out. Ah, my dears. The fourth elder looked at the children with a kindly smile, touched their heads, and retrieved spirit fruits and sweet treats from her storage bag. The butler Zizhu also came forward with tea. The family chatted with the elder. Changsheng, how are your talisman-making skills these days? After chatting for a while, the fourth elder inquired about Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill. This was something she always cared to ask about every time. She worried that Lu Changsheng might divert his attention and neglect the talisman path. Grandma, I came here this time to tell you that I've successfully drawn a second-rank talisman. Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. What, Changsheng, you've advanced to second-rank talisman master. The fourth elder was shocked and incredulous upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words. Lu Miaoyun and the children at her side were also surprised and incredulously happy, looking at their husband and father. They naturally understood what successfully drawing a second-rank talisman signified. It meant that Lu Changsheng had stepped into second rank, essentially becoming a second-rank talisman master. Currently, there was not a single second-rank talisman master in all of Qingzhou Mountain. Yet now, their husband and father had become a second-rank talisman master. The news filled them with boundless joy and pride. Yes, Grandma. A few days ago, I was fortunate to successfully draw a Thunder Fire talisman. So after arranging marketplace affairs with Sister Miaoge, I came back to tell you the news. Lu Changsheng said to the elder before him. After speaking, he handed over the Thunder Fire talisman he had successfully drawn for the fourth elder to examine. The fourth elder took the Thunder Fire talisman, inspecting it carefully and with great interest in her hands. The several youngsters, although they did not understand, were curious and piqued at the talisman. They had never seen a second-rank talisman before. Good. Changsheng, you haven't let Grandma down. After examining the talisman for a while, the fourth elder took a deep breath and expressed her approval repeatedly, her face beaming with joy and unable to contain her happiness. At her age, she had already seen and let go of many things. The only things she still kept in mind were the prosperity of the family and the accomplishments of her descendants. Lu Changsheng, as her grandson-in-law, had been treated like her own grandson and was laden with her high expectations. Now, seeing that her beloved grandson had achieved the rank of second-rank talisman master, she was truly delighted from the bottom of her heart. This is also thanks to your continuous guidance, Grandma, as well as the second-rank heritage and annotations on talisman making you gave me. Otherwise, Changxing wouldn't have been able to reach this step so quickly. Lu Changxing said with a beaming smile. Hee, you don't have to flatter Grandma, spouting these nice words. The fact that you've reached this step is all thanks to your own efforts and talent. The help Grandma can offer is limited. The fourth elder said with a laugh. She naturally knew that Lu Changxing was flattering her. After all, she had never been stingy with her guidance and teaching for Lu Miaoge. Initially, she had even invested more effort in Lu Miaoge. Yet compared to Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoge was clearly no match. Have you told the family head about this matter? The fourth elder asked aloud. Not yet. Sister Miaoge and I just got back not long ago and came straight here to tell you the news. Lu Changxing replied. Changxing, that's very thoughtful of you. Such a joyous occasion also needs to be reported to the family head and the elders, so the family can hold a grand celebration. The fourth elder said, holding her grandson-in-law's hand with a face full of gratification. Now that the family had produced a second-rank talisman master, they wouldn't keep it under wraps. A grand celebration was in order. Perhaps even a grand ceremony, inviting neighboring families, spreading the news far and wide, to elevate the family's prestige. A grand celebration for this seems a bit much. Lu Changxing said with a twitch in his mouth upon hearing this. He hadn't expected that merely advancing to a second-rank talisman master would warrant a grand ceremony. Usually, at least a breakthrough to foundation establishment would warrant such a grand ceremony. It's necessary. This is about becoming a second-rank talisman master, our Lu family's very first. It must be celebrated properly. Chapter 399, Grand Ceremony Celebration, promoted to 4th grade spiritual root. The fourth elder said with a chuckle. Then, he looked at Lu Miaoge and said, Miaoge, how is your talisman making going now? Fourth Grandma, I am also preparing to try drawing second-rank talismans, Lu Miaoge said with a gentle smile. Under Lu Changxing's usual guidance and teaching, she had also made continuous progress in talisman making. Now, in the realm of 1st grade, she belonged to the top-level talisman masters and could attempt to practice second-rank talismans. Very good. You and Changxing should communicate more. Who knows, maybe our Lu family will have 2 second-grade talisman masters in the future, the fourth elder said, feeling somewhat excited at the thought. Although a second-grade talisman master wasn't as prestigious as a foundation establishment great cultivator, their status and identity were still extraordinary. Even foundation establishment great cultivators would show them some respect. If Qingzhou Mountain had 2 second-grade talisman masters stationed there, it would rise and prosper even more. Don't worry, Grandma, Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge said to the elder with a smile, nodding their agreement. Congratulations to my husband on advancing to second-grade talisman master. At this moment, Lu Miaoyun also beamed with joy as she congratulated Lu Changxing. Looking at her handsome husband before her, she couldn't help but remember how, when Lu Changxing became a middle-grade talisman master, the family had arranged for her to marry him. More than a decade had passed in the blink of an eye. The once son-in-law of the Lu family had become a family elder, advancing to second-grade talisman master. This filled her heart with joy, but also with a tinge of melancholy. Feeling that her husband was so powerful and outstanding, yet her own cultivation level was still stuck at the bottleneck of the 6th-level energy refinement, and she hardly had any way to help Lu Changxing. Congratulations, Daddy, congratulations, Daddy. The children nearby also immediately congratulated Lu Changxing. Ha, very good, Lu Changxing laughed and nodded. Let's go, Changxing. I'll take you to see the ancestor, the fourth elder said, eager to announce the news to Lu Yuanzhong. Yes, Grandma, Lu Changxing replied, as it was his first time seeing the elder in such a state, so he went along with her. Straight away, the fourth elder took Lu Changxing to the Qingzhou Great Hall to see the family head, Lu Miaochang. What? Changsheng, you've advanced to second-grade Talisman Master. The new family head of the Lu family was equally overjoyed at the news of Lu Changsheng's advancement. After all, the addition of a second-grade Talisman Master meant an increase in the depth of the Lu family's resources. It would not only make the business of the Lu family's spirit talisman shop better, but it would also add to their external deterrence. Moreover, they could attract some Talisman Master guest elders to serve the family through Lu Changsheng, the second-grade Talisman Master. Immediately, he was thrilled and excited to send a message to Lu Yuanzhong. This foundation establishment ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong, spent most of his days cultivating in seclusion deep in Qingzhou Valley. Except for major family matters or events like previously in Red Leaf Valley, such as auctions, he rarely went out. Soon after, an escape light from the depths of Qingzhou Valley flew towards them. It was the Lu family ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong. Through his foundation establishment late-stage divine sense, Lu Changsheng recognized the ancestor's cultivation level at a glance. Foundation establishment second level. Considering the time, it was within expectations. It had been over 7 years since the great battle between the Lu family and the Qin family. And by that time, Lu Yuanzhong had already broken through to foundation establishment. Now, 7 or 8 years later, advancing from the first level to the second level of foundation establishment was quite normal. After all, like energy refinement, the small realms of first, second, and third level of foundation establishment did not have bottlenecks. It was only when advancing from the third to the fourth level, from the early to the middle stage of foundation establishment, that bottlenecks were encountered. Fourth aunt, Changsheng, you are here too, is there something wrong? Lu Yuanzhong asked as he looked at everyone. Although he was the Lu family ancestor, he didn't usually put on airs in private. Ancestor, Lu Miaochang immediately relayed the information about Lu Changsheng becoming a second-grade Talisman Master to Lu Yuanzhong. A second-grade Talisman Master. Very good, excellent, Lu Yuanzhong, the foundation establishment ancestor, repeated, his eyes shining with delight as he praised the news. As the family's foundation establishment ancestor, the pressure on him was immense. The entire family relied on him for support. He could not afford the slightest accident. If anything happened to him, the whole family would be affected. Now, with Lu Changsheng as a second-grade Talisman Master, at least the family's outward circumstances would improve. After all, it was success with the Red Leaf Valley Qin family that made them, and defeat by them as well. Initially, by relying on the defeat of the Qin family to establish the Red Leaf Valley marketplace, the family gained a batch of spirit stone resources, setting them on an upward trajectory. But also because of this, Red Leaf Valley marketplace was targeted by many forces. If the Lu family encountered any trouble, those people would pounce like fierce tigers. Changsheng, the joyous occasion of your advancement to second-grade Talisman Master naturally calls for a grand celebration, Lu Yuanzhong declared. How about we choose an auspicious day to hold a ceremony, invite guests far and wide, and celebrate properly, he suggested, looking at Lu Changsheng. His thoughts aligned with the fourth elders. He hoped Lu Changsheng would hold a grand ceremony to announce it far and wide. To make sure the neighboring families knew that the Lu family had a second-grade Talisman Master in residence. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng didn't say anything. If it were up to him, he wouldn't really want to make such a fuss. After all, it was only a second-grade Talisman Master. No need for such splendor. But looking at Lu Yuanzhong, the fourth elder, and Lu Miaochang, he roughly understood their thoughts and meanings. The current situation of the Lu family required a raise in the family's prestige. A second-grade Talisman Master could bring a significant increase in prestige for the Lu family. Ancestor, although I've successfully drawn a second-ranked talisman, the success rate is too low, so I don't consider myself a true second-grade Talisman Master, Lu Changsheng said. Therefore, in my view, the matter of this grand ceremony is not urgent, he concluded. Chapter 400, Grand Ceremony Celebration, promoted to 4th grade spiritual root. Once I'm more familiar with second-rank talismans and my success rate in talisman making improves, it won't be too late to hold the ceremony. Lu Changxing mused for a moment. Since a grand ceremony was involved, there could be disruptions with people causing trouble, provocation, or even questioning it. Although he was equipped with second-grade talisman-making skills and feared no challenges or doubts, it wouldn't be good to show his remarkable abilities too soon after becoming a second-grade talisman master. Therefore, he would wait and, should such a situation arise, he would be better prepared to address it. Alright, let's follow Changsheng's suggestion. Just let Miao Chang know when you're ready, Lu Yuanzhong said, nodding his head upon hearing this. He found Lu Changsheng's words to make sense. Good, Changsheng, just let me know when you're ready, Lu Miaochang immediately nodded and said. He also mentioned that if Lu Changsheng needed to draw from the family's talisman-making materials, he could simply speak to him directly. As for the other benefits, since Lu Changsheng was already a family elder, there was no way to promote him further, they could only increase his monthly supply of materials for second-grade talisman making. To this, Lu Changsheng didn't have much to say. He was aware that a family's resources were limited and that they couldn't completely dedicate them to supporting one person's advancement to second-grade talisman master. That night. Yuner, what's on your mind? Lu Changsheng noticed that his wife, Lu Miaoyun, seemed to be preoccupied with thoughts. Husband, am I useless? Lu Miaoyun looked up with pursed lips and asked. Lu Changsheng, upon hearing this, had a hunch that his revealing of being a second-grade talisman master today might have put pressure on Lu Miaoyun, making her feel insecure, so he couldn't help but think more about it. He immediately reassured his wife by holding her delicate shoulders, saying, how could that be? If it wasn't for you managing our home so well, how could I focus on cultivating the talisman path with such ease? You shouldn't overthink it. We are husband and wife, bound to progress together for the rest of our lives. Lu Changsheng embraced his wife, comforting her with his warm voice. Despite typically being knowledgeable and sensible, the epitome of the wise matron managing the household well, Lu Changsheng knew that Lu Miaoyun was actually of a more delicate and gentle nature. Now, facing his situation, she, as his wife, felt some pressure, which made him think further. Husband. Lu Miaoyun's moist and glossy lips barely parted as she stared blankly at her own husband. Your husband is here, always by your side. Don't overthink things. If you have something on your mind, just speak to me about it directly. Lu Changsheng looked at her face, beautiful as the blooming flowers, and spoke with a tender voice. He wasn't a heartless man. Although marrying and having children were parts of his life, he would still fulfill his responsibilities. A virtuous wife supports my lofty aspirations. In turn, I'll reward my virtuous wife with a wealth of gold. Husband. Lu Miaoyun's eyelashes trembled slightly as she called out softly, nestling into Lu Changsheng's embrace. Let's sleep. Lu Changsheng chuckled softly, revealing his wife's previously cute and naive side. Emichim. As Lu Miaoyun heard his words, she softly replied, the tick-tock of her lashes indicating her tranquil state as she gradually fell asleep. Lu Changsheng watched his petite, lovely wife in his arms, listening to her steady breathing, feeling a profound sense of peace in his heart. Time flew like water, and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. On this day, Lu Changsheng was accompanying Xiao Xia on a stroll through the streets. Being 6 months pregnant, Xiao Xia's belly was quite obvious now. And as the pregnancy progressed, this normally aloof and pure fairy of the Moon Palace was no longer as indifferent as before. She would occasionally touch her protruding belly with a look of maternal radiance on her face. Changsheng, the baby is kicking me. Xiao Xia said, acting coquettishly to Lu Changsheng as she felt the baby's movements. Alright, I've noted it, and once he is born, I'll discipline him for you. Lu Changsheng immediately stroked the fairy's jade-like belly, speaking softly. Humph, what kind of father holds a grudge against his own child? Xiao Xia said, pinching Lu Changsheng in response. If someone bullies my wife, of course, I'll hold a grudge. Lu Changsheng hummed. Just then, a mysterious tremor came, accompanied by the sound of a system notification. Congratulations, host, for reaching a count of 35 descendants with spiritual roots, you have earned one lottery opportunity. This mysterious vibration was not a fleeting one. Rather, it caused a tremor throughout his body, filling Lu Changsheng's heart with an indescribable joy. He knew that his spiritual root had ascended. It had advanced from a 5th grade spiritual root to a 4th grade spiritual root. This child's spiritual root is at least a 5th grade, and possibly even a 4th grade. Lu Changsheng thought to himself with excitement. Previously, he had only 3 descendants with a 6th grade spiritual root. With such lower grade spiritual roots, it was somewhat difficult for his own 5th grade spiritual root to advance to a 4th grade. Although he felt capable of nurturing the child himself, he also entertained the idea of diversifying. Some children he could cultivate at home, others he could send to immortal sects. This approach not only saved resources and provided better growth environments for the children, but could also expand the family's network of connections. Moreover, sending a child to the Qingyun sect would mean Xiao Xia could help look after them. However, there's a downside to everything. Sending children to immortal sects would undoubtedly diminish their proximity and connection to the family. And sending them to immortal sects with all the competition and sect responsibilities, it may not necessarily be better than being in the family. Well, that's still a ways off, no need to rush. Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly, not dwelling on the matter. Mentally, he said, "System, draw the lottery." Since he was entitled to a lottery, he naturally wouldn't hold on to it, instead planning to use it right away. Immediately, the system's attribute panel blurred and transformed into the familiar lottery wheel. Draw the lottery. Looking at the lottery wheel, Lu Changsheng's spirit stirred as he began to participate in the draw. Chapter 401, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The mouse sees the sun again. _1. Ding. Congratulations to the host on obtaining the magical treasure, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The reward has been issued to the system space. The host can check it at any time. The golden light paused at the magical treasures category. Immediately, a black chain with innumerable shadows emerged from the spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Magical treasures? Lu Changsheng looked at the reward he won from the lottery, his eyebrows raising slightly. If it had been before, winning a magical treasure from the lottery would have felt quite nice. But now, with the 9 treasure jade rui, the black dragon magical bead, and 1 magical treasure embryo, the speed of his 100 refinements treasure body art had already reached its peak. He no longer felt anything for magical treasures. After all, with his current foundation establishment cultivation, he couldn't activate a magical treasure. Other than using it for cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art, it was practically useless, an utter superfluity. However, one can never have too many magical treasures. Once I reached the late stage of foundation establishment, relying on the profound origin bead, I should almost be able to activate magical treasures. Moreover, magical treasures can also be used by my children. If any of these children can cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art, I can definitely let them infuse the magical treasures into their bodies to assist in their cultivation. Not only would it enable them to advance quickly, but it's also equivalent to me improving. A single magical treasure, double the benefits. Lu Changsheng exhaled softly, murmuring to himself. He planned to imprint the magical treasure into the body of whichever child could cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art in the future. After all, once the child cultivated, the effects would stack onto himself. The only issue now was that the children were young, and he wasn't quite willing to teach orthodox-level cultivation techniques to outsiders. Moreover, orthodox-level cultivation techniques were not so easy to practice. He had personally taught Lu Miaoga the exquisite-level, Saturn's solar sword technique for nearly half a month before she gained a preliminary understanding. This orthodox-level, 100 refinements treasure body technique was countless times more difficult. In the process of cultivation, if there was any carelessness, it could lead to problems and injury to oneself. Therefore, he must be cautious and handle it with care. Sigh, If only I could directly impart cultivation techniques to these children as well. Lu Changxing sighed in his heart, feeling wistful. After relying on the system to inherit the soul dispersion needle from the Red Phoenix True Scripture, he profoundly appreciated how awesome it was to have techniques directly transmitted by the system. Otherwise, even if he understood all the principles and theories, practicing them was another matter entirely. Without further thought, Lu Changxing looked toward the system space. He was checking the magical treasure he had just won. Magical treasure, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock, grade, superior quality magical treasure, description. Ian Ghost Celestial sought hundreds of demon warhorses that had battled through many wars and tortured them relentlessly, so that their resentful spirits would soar as they died, their souls not dissipating, and refined them into Ian horses. Eventually, he infused the spirits of 100 Ian horses into the towering pagoda chains, creating the 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. When used against an enemy, the 100 Ian horses charge fiercely, collapsing mountains and tearing the earth asunder, shattering both body and soul of the opponent. Superior quality magical treasure. Looks like it belongs to the demonic path magical treasure. Although the method of refining demonic path magical treasures is quite cruel, their power and effects are generally impressive. But this description really does illustrate the effectiveness. When facing an enemy, upon unleashing the magical treasure, 100 Ian horses barrel through with such force that mountains collapse and the earth splits, scattering the opponent's body and soul. Lu Changxing nodded slightly, examining the description of the magical treasure's effects. But after looking at it a couple of times, he didn't pay it much more attention, letting the magical treasure remain in the system space. He decided to take it out when it was needed in the future. I wonder how much my 4th grade spiritual root has improved compared to before. After the lottery draw, Lu Changxing felt unenthusiastic, thinking about his recently advanced 4th grade spiritual root. He immediately closed his eyes and sat in meditation, with his heart open to heaven, channeling the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. Who? After cultivating for an hour, Lu Changxing opened his eyes and exhaled a turbid breath. From the recent cultivation, he could clearly sense that his speed of cultivation had improved. About 30% compared to before. Although it was only 30%, this effect was already quite remarkable. It allowed his speed of cultivation to increase significantly. Moreover, apart from the speed of cultivation, having a superior spiritual root also made it easier to break through bottlenecks. However, a 4th grade spiritual root only helps with minor bottlenecks. For my current situation, it won't have any noticeable effect on the major bottleneck of core formation in the future. If I could advance my spiritual root to a heavenly spiritual root before core formation, then breaking through would pose no bottleneck at all. Lu Changxing thought to himself. He could not help but look forward to the day when he would be blessed with a stroke of luck, spawning a child with a heavenly spiritual root. That way, his spiritual root would be perfected in one fell swoop, sparing him the slow grind. Shaking his head to dispel these impractical fantasies, Lu Changxing stepped out of the meditation room. After chatting with Xiao Xie for a while, he left the cave dwelling and went to the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. Daddy. Upon arriving on the 3rd floor, Lu Qingzhu, who was quietly reading a book by herself, saw Lu Changxing and called out sweetly. Little Zhu, where is your mother? Lu Changxing, seeing his daughter alone, showed a gentle smile and asked. His daughter was 6 years old now, even more adorable in appearance. With her chubby and baby-soft cheeks, he couldn't help but pinch them. Mommy is in the room drawing talismans. Lu Qingzhu said in a sweet, milky voice. Guessing that there must be a customer who ordered or needed a specific talisman, Lu Changxing didn't go to disturb Lu Miaoge. He walked over and sat beside his daughter, asking, What are you looking at, little Zhu? Daddy, look. Lu Qingzhu handed the album she was holding to Lu Changxing. Chapter 402, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The mouse sees the sun again. This is a photo album. Inside is a forest teeming with all sorts of spiritual beasts living and playing. Since it's for young children's enlightenment, these spiritual beasts are relatively mild and adorable. There won't be any ferocious and terrifying demon beasts. Little Zhu, do you know what this is? Lu Changxing asked, pointing to a purple parrot. Lu Qingzhu shook her head with a dazedly cute expression. Then she looked at Lu Changxing with her innocent, wide eyes, waiting for him to introduce it. Lu Changxing smiled at his daughter's antics. He ruffled her little head, which was tied into 2 buns, and said, "This is a purple jade parrot. It understands human language and can speak." As he spoke, Lu Changxing tapped the purple jade parrot on the jade scroll. "Hello." Immediately, the parrot let out a crisp greeting. "Oh, hello." Lu Qingzhu responded with her dazedly cute voice. "If little Zhu likes it, Daddy will buy one for you," Lu Changxing said to his daughter, who was exhibiting her adorable behavior. This purple jade parrot was only a low-level demon beast, a type kept for ornamental purposes, and many cultivators domesticated them as pets to keep at home. They were also available for sale in the Red Leaf Valley market. "Oh, Daddy, this one," Lu Qingzhu, hearing this, flipped through the album a couple of pages with her little hand, and pointed to a white-furred hamster to show Lu Changxing. "Little Zhu, you like this kind?" Lu Changxing was taken aback upon hearing this. He hadn't expected his daughter to prefer the white-furred hamster over the talking purple jade parrot. But indeed, the white-furred hamster was quite cute. Its body was snow-white, fluffy, and had an adorable appearance, so it was normal for children to like it. At this moment, he remembered he had a similar-looking golden hamster in his spiritual pet bag. The earth spirit mouse he had gotten from Mangi Bai. Since this earth spirit mouse was stolen property, he had always kept it in the spiritual pet bag. Every now and then, he would throw a few spirit-rearing pellets into the bag to feed it. "Little Zhu, how about this one?" Immediately, Lu Changxing reached into the spiritual pet bag and pulled out the earth spirit mouse. This earth spirit mouse was about the same size as the white-furred hamster in the album, only the size of a palm. With golden fur and a harmlessly cute appearance, it was very adorable. Squeak, 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 the earth spirit mouse, which hadn't breathed fresh air for more than 3 years in the spiritual pet bag, was finally seeing daylight again and started calling out happily. "Oh, a mousey." Upon seeing the adorable earth spirit mouse, Lu Qingzhu's sparkling eyes widened even further. Her little head moved slightly forward, and she leaned in to get a closer look at the earth spirit mouse. "Behave yourself." Lu Changxing, holding the hamster, gave it a few rubs and conveyed his thoughts to the earth spirit mouse through the beast control token. He clearly remembered that this earth spirit mouse possessed no small amount of spiritual intelligence. It even knew how to acknowledge someone as an adoptive father. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse immediately responded to Lu Changxing. It showed that the mouse was the most well-behaved and sensible one. Lu Changxing believed this as well. He dared to bring this earth spirit mouse out for his daughter to play with because he had researched information about it and knew its temperament. Though it possessed an earth-grade bloodline, it was as timid as a mouse. Aside from running away, it wouldn't really fight. Its primary use was treasure hunting. It had an extremely keen sense of smell for spiritual medicine, heavenly materials, and earthly treasures, or even for spirit minerals and spirit veins. It could also sniff a particular medicine, heavenly material, or earthly treasure, and as long as someone had touched the spiritual medicine or treasure within a short period, it could sniff them out. Plainly speaking, it was very sensitive to spiritual energy and spiritual mechanisms. "Come here, little Zhu." Lu Changxing spread out his hand, letting his daughter touch the golden hamster. With him beside her, he wasn't worried about how the earth spirit mouse would behave. If it did anything unexpected, he could stop it immediately. "Oh." Lu Qingzhu stretched out her delicate little hand and carefully touched the earth spirit mouse. Although the earth spirit mouse was only palm-sized, for an adult that is, to a 6-year-old little girl, it was still quite big. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse played along well, realizing that this scary person brought it to entertain the human child. It immediately rubbed its little head against Lu Qingzu's small hand. "Oh, Daddy." Lu Qingzhu was startled, then grew bolder and petted the earth spirit mouse, calling out to Lu Changxing. "Here, you take it." Lu Changxing smiled and handed over the earth spirit mouse to his daughter. "Oh." Lu Qingzhu immediately cradled the golden hamster in her hands and rubbed it in her arms, her little face beaming with happiness. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse continued to cooperate. "Little Zhu, you can feed it this." Lu Changxing took out a bottle of spirit nourishing pills, poured one out, and handed it to his daughter to feed to the earth spirit mouse. After all, feeding a pet was also a form of joy. "Oh." Lu Qingzhu cradled the earth spirit mouse with one arm while feeding it the spirit nourishing pill with the other. Immediately, the little golden hamster showed its 2 teeth, began nibbling on the elixir medicines, and happily squeaked. In its spiritual pet bag, because Lu Changxing was so busy he had forgotten about it, it often had to go without food. This made it learn to eat the spirit nourishing pills sparingly. So, getting an extra meal today made it extremely happy. "Daddy, look." After a while, Lu Qingzhu watched the earth spirit mouse nibble on the elixir medicines by itself, her mouth forming a surprised "oh," and called out to Lu Changxing. "Little Zhu, do you like this mouse?" Lu Changxing asked his daughter. If his daughter said she liked it, he would give this earth spirit mouse to Lu Qingzhu. After all, it was just sitting on him and used, so it would be better if it became a companion for his daughter. His daughter spent most of her time on Qingzhou Mountain and only occasionally visited the Red Leaf Valley Market. Chapter 403, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The mouse sees the sun again. He didn't have to worry about being targeted by Meng Yibai's false core elder. After all, if the elder could really track him down through an earth spirit mouse, he would have already done so. Moreover, although earth spirit mice are rare, they aren't so rare that people would think too much upon seeing one. "Daddy, like." Lu Qingzhu looked at the earth spirit mouse in her hand, then turned towards Lu Changxing, her sparkling eyes brimming with affection. "Since that's the case, Daddy will give this little mouse to my little Zhu," Lu Changxing said with a smile. "Oh, thank you, Daddy." Upon hearing this, Lu Qingzhu's little face showed her happiness. Then she put down the hamster, stood up, and reached out both her arms towards Lu Changxing. Seeing this, Lu Changxing picked up his daughter. "Mua." Once picked up, Lu Qingzhu immediately planted a strong kiss on her daddy's face. She knew her daddy liked to kiss her cheeks to show his affection. So she kissed Lu Changxing back to show her affection. "Ha ha ha, such a good girl, Mua." Lu Changxing laughed heartily, promptly nibbling on his daughter's chubby cheeks. "Changxing, you're back. What's making you so happy?" At this moment, the door to the talisman room opened. Lu Miaoge, clad in a snow-white dress, her visage gentle and lovely, walked out. Seeing the father and daughter so joyous, a beautiful smile graced her face as she spoke. "Hee, seeing my darling daughter and wife naturally makes me happy," Lu Changxing said with a smile. "Still so slick-tongued even though you're a father now." Lu Miaoge responded with a quip, rolling her eyes affectionately at Lu Changxing while smiling sweetly. "Oh, mommy, mousy." At that moment, Lu Qingzhu in Lu Changxing's arms pointed towards the earth spirit mouse, which had finished gnawing on the spirit pill, and called out to Lu Miaoge. "Mousy?" Lu Miaoge looked to the side and instantly noticed the earth spirit mouse. After scrutinizing it for a moment, she turned to Lu Changxing and asked in surprise, "Is this a seeking spirit mouse?" In the cultivation world, there were numerous spiritual beasts with treasure-seeking abilities. These were particularly common among rodents. Due to their similar appearance, it was difficult to distinguish between them. Therefore, many referred to these treasure-seeking rodent spiritual beasts collectively as seeking spirit mice. That's right, it's a seeking spirit mouse. I saw this seeking spirit mouse at a stall earlier and thought about buying it to look for treasure later, but then I realized that I hardly ever leave the house. Just now, seeing that little Zhu likes this type of hamster, I decided to give it to her as a companion. Lu Changxing nodded and explained without any concealment. After all, it's easy to recognize a spirit mouse with a seeking spirit mouse bloodline. They typically have golden fur and are palm-sized. This is such a waste. Who spoils their daughter like you do, giving her a seeking spirit mouse as a playmate? Lu Miaoge said reproachfully upon hearing this. Seeking spirit mice might lack combat ability, but just their treasure-seeking effect alone made many families and powers eager to obtain them. Hence, spiritual beasts with treasure-seeking abilities generally had a high value. Although she didn't know how many spirit stones Lu Changxing had spent, she felt it was a lavish expense. As long as little Zhu is happy, that's all that matters, Lu Changxing smiled and said. When little Zhu grows up and starts cultivating, who knows, she might find some treasures with this seeking spirit mouse. Every year, Qingzhou Mountain held a spiritual root testing ceremony. This year, Lu Qingzhou was tested at the ceremony and found to have a 7th grade spiritual root, which relieved both Lu Yuanding and Lu Miaoge. They had feared the child would have no spiritual root and would have to be sent to live an ordinary life. Lu Qingshan also had his spiritual root aptitude tested, but it seemed the Qingzhou Mountain testing crystal was too shoddy, as it only confirmed the presence of a spiritual root, and failed to detect Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution. Regarding this, Lu Changxing theorized, aside from the poor quality of the testing crystal, it was also because Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution was still growing. Just keep pampering her. Lu Miaoge smiled and shook her head, no longer saying anything. Since her husband had given their daughter a playmate, she, as a mother, naturally couldn't say no. Moreover, once Lu Qingzhou grew older, maybe she really could find some treasure with the help of the Earth Spirit Mouse. Mother. Lu Qingzhou pointed to the Earth Spirit Mouse and called out to her mother. Oh, such a cute little mouse, does little Zhu like it? Seeing this, Lu Miaoge immediately came forward with a gentle smile on her face. She also picked up the Earth Spirit Mouse to take a closer look. She wanted to see if it was a mid-grade gold-seeking mouse or a high-grade seeking spirit mouse. I like it. Lu Qingzhou said in her childish voice. If you like it, then little Zhu needs to take good care of it, okay? Lu Miaoge told her daughter. Okay. Lu Qingzhou nodded vigorously. After chatting with her daughter for a bit, Lu Miaoge let Lu Changxing watch over her. She went to deliver the talisman she had just finished making. Lu Changxing watched his daughter holding the little hamster, looking at it from every angle, and handed her a bottle of spirit-nurturing pills to feed and play with it. After a short while, Lu Miaoge came back. She looked at her well-behaved and quiet daughter chatting idly with Lu Changxing. Changxing, how familiar are you with the Thunder Fire Talisman now? At that moment, Lu Miaoge inquired. I'm about 40 or 50% confident. Lu Changxing said out loud. That fast? Lu Miaoge exclaimed with surprise and delight on her face. This success rate was not low. After all, a second-rank low-grade talisman could bring about a 20-fold profit. Even with a success rate of 10 or 20%, one could roughly make money. Of course, that was not counting the accumulated practice over days and months. Like Lu Miaoge, who was currently practicing second-rank talismans, she practiced only once per day when she was at her best condition. After all, the practice cost of over 20 spirit stones was truly heart-wrenching. Even if the Lu family's talisman paper was made from their own jade spirit bamboo, costing only the price of materials, it was still painful. It's okay, isn't it? I've been improving a bit every month. Lu Changxing said with a smile. Who makes progress every month? Lu Miaoge felt somewhat struck by her husband's words. Talisman making, much like cultivation, often faced bottlenecks that could last a lifetime without progress. Even worse, if one's mentality was affected, one could regress on the talisman path. Possibly even the talismans they were once able to draw would get worse. Heh, that's what's happening to me right now. Lu Changxing said with laughter. Yes, my husband is the greatest. Lu Maiage's face broke into an indulgent smile. She then inquired, by the way, Changxing, when do you plan to hold your second-grade talisman master ceremony? In a few more months, I guess. I'll wait until my success rate improves a bit and I get familiar with a few other talismans, then I'll notify the family head. Lu Changxing said thoughtfully. In his view, after holding the ceremony, he would definitely be busy for a while. Now that Xiao Xie was about 4 months away from giving birth. If he were to inform the Lu family now, preparing and sending out invitations would take about a month or two. The timing could easily overlap. So he planned to wait until after Xiao Xie had given birth before organizing the ceremony. Lu Miaoge nodded. She knew that the talisman path was analogous to other skills. Once proficient in one type of talisman, mastering others would become much easier. She thought her husband truly approached things with a steady hand. Even for a ceremony, he insisted on being fully prepared. This was also thanks to her husband's exceptional talent and rapid progress on the talisman path. Otherwise, for someone else to do the same might take 3 to 5 years, or even longer toil. Chapter 404, Reduce Expenses and Increase Income, 99 Mysterious Talisman Scripture. _1. 3 months later. In the residential area of Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Changxing cycled the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture, his body surrounded by 7 sword radiances, elegant and fierce, fluctuating unpredictably, making his robes billow and flutter. As nature's spiritual energy continued to sweep over him, the sword chi around his body became even sharper, forming a powerful spiritual pressure. Boom! With a thunderous noise inside his body, the spiritual pressure gradually dissipated. 3 years and 7 months, Foundation Establishment Second Level. Lu Changxing opened his eyes, a faint smile forming on his lips. He then inwardly examined his divine sense to check his condition after the breakthrough. His Danshan Sea of Qi had expanded again, able to hold even more liquefied mana. With the breakthrough in cultivation level, his divine sense also improved slightly. However, as his divine sense had already expanded to 150 zhang under the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir, this breakthrough only added about another 7 or 8 zhang to its range. I wonder when I will be able to draw alchemy skills through the system. Otherwise, this way, the elixir medicines of the Qi refinement realm will be almost useless to me, with very minimal effects. Lu Changxing glanced at the empty bottles of condensing energy elixirs beside him and exhaled softly. In a large marketplace like Qingyun Market, with big shops like Qingyun Commerce Guild and Elixir Cauldron Pavilion, you can still buy some elixirs that advance Foundation Establishment cultivation if you're willing to spend the money. But it's harder in a marketplace like Red Leaf Valley. Even elixirs that enhance energy refinement late-stage cultivation level are in limited supply. Otherwise, with the 7 luminaries' heart lamp to refine elixir toxicity and burn mana, his cultivation speed could be twice as fast. Without thinking too much more, after slightly stabilizing his mana, Lu Changxing cast a cleansing technique on himself. He cleared away the slight impurities and dust brought by the marrow cleansing during his breakthrough, walking out of the practice room feeling refreshed and clear-headed. Congratulations to Mr. Lu on reaching the second level of Foundation Establishment. In the living room, Xiao Xie looked at Lu Changxing, her stunning face breaking into a gentle smile. 9 months pregnant, her abdomen was now prominently round. But this did not detract from her beauty. Instead, it added a mature and full-bodied charm to her figure. Her icy skin and bone structure, along with her pure and serene face, also began to exude an enchanting maternal charm over time. It turned her original coolness entirely into a gentle beauty. Her every move revealed a holy and pure beauty. It's just a minor breakthrough, he remarked. If it weren't for this little one, Xiu, you would have been close to breaking through as well, said Lu Changxing, looking tenderly at Xiao Xie. Even without this little one, I wouldn't have broken through to the second level of Foundation Establishment so quickly, Xiao Xie gently said, touching her belly. Although she had cultivated alongside Lu Changxing and made rapid progress, she still spent time consolidating her cultivation foundations after each dual cultivation session. Unlike Lu Changxing, who constantly burned mana with the 7 luminaries heart lamp to refine his foundations. Moreover, aside from cultivating, she also had to take time out every day to practice her techniques and divine skills. Therefore, she was quite surprised at how quickly Lu Changxing had broken through to the 2nd level of foundation establishment. After all, she knew from her daily interactions with Lu Changxing that he only spent 2 or 3 hours a day on cultivation. And after witnessing Lu Changxing deal with 2 foundation establishment robber cultivators, she instinctively thought he must have spent a lot of time cultivating his divine technique and skills. Otherwise, how could he possess such divine abilities? Having to spend time with his wives and children, as well as cultivate divine technique and skills, and also focus on the talisman path, it was naturally surprising to her that his cultivation could progress so swiftly under these circumstances. However, she did not ask further, knowing that Lu Changxing had great secrets and a rare spiritual or possibly Taoist body. Otherwise, with a 9th grade spiritual root, such speed in cultivation would be impossible. "You've worked hard, Xiyu," Lu Changxing said gently, taking a seat beside her. He tenderly stroked Xiao Xia's rounded, fair, and soft belly with his palm. "It's not hard work. For me, this is also cultivation, an experience." Xiao Xia gently shook her head. Since becoming pregnant, she could clearly sense a change in her mental state. It allowed her new insights and understandings of the supreme forgetful love technique, considering it as part of the myriad experiences and practices of mortal life. Lu Changsheng's mouth twitched slightly upon hearing this. He thought to himself that this supreme forgetful love technique really made one continuously associate everything with cultivation. After chatting with Xiao Xia for a while, Lu Changxing mentioned had returned to Qingzhou Mountain for a visit. Although Xiao Xia was pregnant and he was spending more time and energy here, he couldn't just neglect Qingzhou Mountain and Rui Prefecture. He would still go back every month or 2 to handle various matters, check on his wives and children, and additionally, work on conceiving more children. Now, the total number of his children had reached 146. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, as usual, Lu Changxing inquired about the cultivation situations of his children and Bai Ling. His son Lu Xianji had been stuck at the middle stage of qi refinement and remained at the 3rd level. Lu Changxing hadn't given him any breakthrough elixir, allowing him to gradually overcome the bottleneck on his own. After all, using breakthrough elixirs at this stage would inevitably affect later progress. Despite being a 9th grade spiritual root with basically no potential for further growth, Lu Changxing believed it was best to break through on one's own if possible, and there was no rush for time. Lu Chuanjun had also reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. His daughters Lu Rui and Lu Yun, on the other hand, were at the 2nd level. As for Bai Ling, she had long since broken through to the 4th level of qi refinement, and it was estimated that before long, she would reach the 5th level. This pace left Lu Changxing astounded. In just 3 short years, even without his provision of elixir medicines, she had cultivated to the 4th level of qi refinement and was close to breaking through to the 5th level. Chapter 405, Cutting Costs and Increasing Income, the 99 Mysterious Talisman Scripture. This speed is not at all inferior to that of Xiao Xia's initial progress and even surpasses it by a notch. Afterward, Lu Changxing inquired about the situation of his other children. The 5th child with a spiritual root has also reached 12 years of age, and has started the cultivation process. But he has not yet completed the drawing in of qi. Starting from next year, the children who are able to cultivate will experience a minor burst in growth. Lu Changxing spent an entire day caring for and inquiring after all his children. He knew that in the next 4 years, he would have 15 children with spiritual roots stepping onto the path of immortality. This was thanks to his frenetic sowing when he first arrived at 9 Dragons Market. In just 5 short years, he had fathered 60 children. On average, 1 child per month. If it hadn't been for the 2nd and 4th elders persuading him to take care of his body and show some restraint, the number might have been even higher. 9 Dragons Market. Lu Changxing reflected on the days when he bought maids from the White Jade Tower in Nine Dragons Market. It feels like it's time to select some more maids. He couldn't help but think to himself. Among these wives and maids, apart from Lu Miaoge who had only given birth to one, Lu Miaohuan had borne two. The others had at least 3 or 4 each. Some of the concubines had gone as far as having 5 or 6 children. In Lu Changsheng's view, this number was about right. Although the purchased maids had no rights. They couldn't be treated solely as breeding machines. Empathy was key, the concubines needed to be devoted to him wholeheartedly. Otherwise, when the children grew up, seeing their mothers treated like this, they would feel uncomfortable too. If the outflow is to be stemmed, the source must be widened by increasing the number of maids. Moreover, I now have the money to go to the White Jade Tower and purchase maids with middle grade and even upper grade spiritual roots. Lu Changxing thought to himself for a moment. He decided to visit the White Jade Tower in Nine Dragons Market when he had some free time. It wasn't just about income and expenditure. All his maids were of lower grade spiritual roots. This had a certain influence on the spiritual root talent of the children born. Now that his circumstances had improved, it was time for a further step in selective breeding. After all, the higher the parents' spiritual roots, the better the children's spiritual roots would be. After staying in Qingzhou Mountain for 10 days, Lu Changxing prepared to return to Red Leaf Valley Market. Boom! Just then, a relatively dense cultivation level surged into Lu Changsheng's body from nowhere. He immediately knew that his son, Lu Xianji, had broken through the bottleneck of the middle stage of qi refinement. He had reached the 4th level of energy refinement. The 4th level of energy refinement, if not counting the quality of spiritual power and mana, is about 1% of my current cultivation level. It's equivalent to saving me a month and a half of arduous cultivation. Lu Changxing closed his eyes to feel the incoming cultivation strength and roughly estimated. If we calculate this way, 100 cultivators at the 4th level of energy refinement would be equal to 1 foundation establishment. However, the quality difference in mana allows a foundation establishment cultivator to easily slaughter 100 cultivators in the middle stage of energy refinement. Lu Changxing shook his head slightly, knowing such calculations were not feasible. But reaching the middle stage of energy refinement at least has some effect on me. When breaking through to the 2nd and 3rd levels of energy refinement earlier, there was no perceivable impact on me. Now that I'm at the foundation establishment level, for my children to impact me, they need to be at the late stage of qi refinement. But waiting for a child to cultivate to the late stage of energy refinement will probably take another 10 to 20 years. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. The path of cultivation seemed long and distant. After all, aside from Lu Qingshan and the previously mentioned son with a 4th grade spiritual root, Lu Qingxian, the spiritual roots of his current children were mediocre at best. There were only 2 with 6th grade middle spiritual roots. All the others were of lower grade spiritual roots. But indeed, as I suspected, there was no achievement reward for the child breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement. Could it be that such cultivation-related achievement rewards won't trigger again until they break through to foundation establishment? If that's the case, it's way too difficult. Lu Changxing saw no system notification and shook his head inwardly. Although he had anticipated this, he still held a faint hope. He wanted to see if breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement would trigger an achievement reward. Xianji is also 15 or 16 now. Having broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, it's time to let him gain some experience in Red Leaf Valley Market. Seeing Lu Xianzi's breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement, Lu Changxing thought about his son who was no longer young. He planned to let him go out to broaden his horizon and get tempered. After all, flowers cannot be grown in a greenhouse. These children were his future foundation. They would need them to manage the family later on. Even with average spiritual roots, they must be well cultivated. Thereupon, Lu Changxing walked towards Lu Xianzi's courtyard. Dad, I've broken through to the middle stage of energy refinement. At that moment, Lu Xianji emerged from the courtyard, his face bright with joy. Seeing Lu Changsheng, he spoke with excitement. Not bad, far stronger than your father back in the day, Lu Changsheng said, not sparing on praises. How could the child dare to compare with you, father? Back then you relied on your own efforts to progress step by step. If it weren't for the resources you spent and the environment you provided, how could I have broken through to the middle stage of energy refinement so quickly? Lu Xianji quickly responded. The praise from his father, though thrilling, he was very aware that his current wealth was entirely due to standing on his father's shoulders. Guided by his grandmother's teachings and interaction with other Lu family disciples, he knew that many Lu family disciples didn't have conditions as favorable as his brothers and sisters. His father had used all his cultivation resources to support them. Especially since he only has a 9th grade spiritual root, deemed unworthy of cultivation, yet his father chose to treat him no differently. Chapter 406, Open Sources and Save Expenditures, the 99 Mysterious Talisman Scriptures. Therefore, in his heart, Lu Xianji still held immense admiration and respect for his own father. Your father strives hard in the hope that your path will be smoother and you will go farther than I have. Upon hearing his son's words, Lu Changsheng smiled and patted him on the shoulder, saying. He then continued, now that you've broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, I plan to take you to the marketplace to broaden your horizons and gain some experience. What do you think? Son will follow father's arrangements. Upon hearing this, Lu Xianji immediately nodded in agreement. Having been in Qingzhou Mountain for so many years, he naturally yearned for the cultivation world and wanted to go out and see it for himself. Good, prepare yourself. Tomorrow, come with me to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Changsheng nodded his head and said. He told Lu Xianji to go and say farewell to the family and friends. Congratulations, brother Xianji. Congratulations to the 7th brother for breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement. The other children in the courtyard, upon hearing that Lu Xianji had broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement and that Lu Changsheng was going to take him to the Red Leaf Valley Market, expressed their envy and congratulations. Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenzhen, the aunties, also heard the news and each gave gifts to encourage him. After all, being the first child in the family to break through to the middle stage of qi refinement had its special significance and was worth celebrating. Under these circumstances, Lu Xianji seemed to take on a bit more responsibility. Although he was the 7th in the family, those ranked ahead of him like Lu Pingan, due to the lack of a spiritual root, had all been sent into the secular world. Therefore, in Qingzhou Mountain, he was effectively the eldest, bearing the responsibilities of an older brother. After a small celebration, the next day, Lu Changsheng rode atop an iron feather eagle, taking his son, Lu Xianji, with him to the Red Leaf Valley Market. First, he took Lu Xianji to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop to meet Lu Miaoge. Although he planned to have Lu Xianji stay at the Peace Talisman Hall, he had to bring him over to meet with her since he was here. With him often absent, Lu Xianji could come to Lu Miaoge if he had any issues. In the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Miaoge was quite an influential figure. Xianji, feel free to come by your auntie's place when you have the time. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle and amiable expression. She was much more well off than the other wives and concubines of Lu Changsheng and gave Lu Xianji a magic artifact as a gift. Many thanks, auntie. Lu Xianji seldom met with this auntie, Lu Miaoge, and did not feel very close to her, slightly restrained. After accepting the gift, he bowed respectfully. After a brief chat, Lu Changsheng took Lu Xianji to visit the Peace Talisman Hall. Peace Talisman Hall, Dad, is this our family's shop? Lu Xianji looked at the shop in front of him and asked aloud. He knew that besides owning 100 mu of spiritual land on Qingzhou Mountain, his father also owned a spirit talisman shop and a mansion in the Red Leaf Valley Market. The reason why he and his siblings had such comfortable conditions was due to this spiritual land and the shop and mansion. That's right, this is our family's spirit talisman shop. Lu Changsheng nodded and said, I didn't bring you here to learn talisman making. Instead, I want you to broaden your horizons and understand the ins and outs of managing a shop, doing business. Aren't you interested in puppets? Now that you've broken through to the middle stage of chi refinement, you can spend some time on this. If there's anything you don't understand, come and ask your father. Once you become a puppet master, your father will open a shop for you. Lu Changxing spoke to his son. His son might not have a talent for talisman making, but he did have some for puppets. Since he had just begun cultivation, Lu Changxing hadn't wanted him to be distracted by puppets. Now that he had broken through to the middle stage of chi refinement, Lu Changxing was willing to let him spend some time on it. After all, the art of puppets was also an important part of his future that needed to be passed on. Yes, father. Upon hearing this, Lu Xianji looked at the words, Peace Talisman Hall, and pursed his lips, showing determination in his eyes. Shopkeeper. Shopkeeper. As the two entered the shop, the greeters and shopkeeper Gao He immediately greeted them resoundingly. Xianji, this is your Uncle Gao. Lu Changxing introduced to Lu Xianji. Uncle Gao. Lu Xianji promptly called out. On the way over, Lu Changxing had briefly explained the situation of the spiritual talisman shop. He knew that this man with a round face and slightly aged appearance was the shopkeeper of the spirit talisman shop. Old Gao, this is my son, Lu Xianji. I plan to place him in the shop as an apprentice, to gain some experience and understand how the shop is managed. You won't need to teach him about making talismans, but it'll trouble you to instruct him in other aspects. Lu Changxing spoke to his old friend Gao He. The two had known each other for more than 10 years and had been employer and employee for 6 years. Since Lu Changxing had always been an absent shop owner, and Gao He managed the shop well, their personal relationship remained quite good. Sure, no problem. Gao He, upon hearing that this was the young shop owner, immediately smiled and agreed. This practice of placing family children in the shop to learn was quite common. As long as Lu Xianji wasn't a spoiled brat, he naturally wouldn't have any objections. Moreover, having been a shopkeeper for so many years, he had a good eye and could tell that Lu Xianji didn't seem to be a troublesome person. After Lu Xianji was settled in, Lu Changxing left for his mansion to check on Xiao Xie's condition. After all, according to the timeline, Xiao Xie was due to give birth this month. The thought of Xiao Xie's child being soon born inevitably filled Lu Changxing with anticipation. However, after waiting for a month, the child in Xiao Xie's womb did not arrive as expected. Lu Changxing was not worried about this situation. Instead, he showed a look of delight. Because children who are born later than expected are either problematic or naturally extraordinary with potentially excellent spiritual root quality. Chapter 407, Save and Earn, 99 Mysterious Talisman Scriptures. _4. He and Xiao Xie were both foundation establishment cultivators and naturally were able to sense the general condition of the child. There were no issues with vitality. Therefore, there was a high probability that the child possessed a fairly good spiritual root, or even a spiritual body. Thus, Lu Changxing awaited the birth of the child with a calm heart and anticipation. Before the child was born, 7 days later, a faint flow of energy, accompanied by a system notification, sounded. Congratulations to the host, 5 offspring have completed the absorption of qi into their bodies, stepping onto the path of cultivation, and received the bloodline effect, a 5% increase in the probability of the offspring's spiritual roots and 1 lottery draw. 5. Kirsten has completed the absorption of qi into her body. Through this flow of energy and the system notification, Lu Changxing knew that his 5th child with a spiritual root, Lu Kirsten, had completed the absorption of qi into her body. He wasn't surprised by this. After all, according to the timing, Lu Kirsten should have completed it by now. Now that it was done, it was even slower than those like Lu Xianji and the others before her. It was just slightly surprising that an achievement lottery was triggered with just 5 children. He had thought it would take 10. But this increase is quite good. At this rate, won't all my future descendants basically have a spiritual root? Lu Changxing, seeing the increase in the probability of his offspring's spiritual roots, nodded slightly with joy. After all, his children were his foundation. System, draw the lottery. Lu Chengxing exhaled lightly and began the lottery draw. A pale red virtual lottery wheel appeared and quickly started spinning. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the cultivation technique, 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. The reward has been issued to the system space, where the host can check it at any time. An image of a translucent jade scroll appeared, accompanied by the system notification. 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. A talisman inheritance? Lu Chengxing, seeing this cultivation technique, raised an eyebrow slightly, showing a trace of interest. The cultivation world possessed 100 arts of cultivation. Each art was profoundly complex and could evolve into a path. Although he had a second-rank full-level talisman-making skill, it was merely an array of basic talisman skills. He did not possess any profoundly mysterious talisman inheritance. Or rather, such profound skill inheritance was not only rare but also required a high threshold for cultivation. Besides certain demands on the spiritual route, there were other requirements as well. For example, Spirit Taming Sect, one of the 3 great immortal sects of Jiang country, and as famous as Qingyun sect, the sect was renowned for beast taming. However, such sects not only looked at the talent of one's spiritual root but also at the compatibility between an individual and spiritual beasts. In the immortal sect's assessments, even if you had a lower grade spiritual root but you naturally resonated and were compatible with certain spiritual beasts, they would still admit you into the sect. I remember that there are no sects with talisman inheritance in Jiang country. On the other hand, in Yu country next door, there is a sect known as Beast Talisman Sect. Famous for talisman path, their sect-protecting cultivation technique, Beast Talisman Scripture, can integrate demon beasts and talismans together, creating an extremely formidable power. Lu Chengxing thought to himself. The southern wilderness cultivation realm was vast, and Jiang country was but a corner of it. Through various epistles and travel notes, Lu Chengxing knew that Jiang country was only considered a mid-sized nation, and there were many more nations outside. Each country would have different inheritances and sects. Although Jiang country had the beast taming sect, because of the country's overlord level sect, the heavenly sword sect, when other countries' cultivation realms talked about Jiang country's cultivation realm, the first thing they thought of were sword cultivators. Lu Chengxing did not dwell on it further, turning his attention to the system space to check the details of the cultivation technique he had just drawn. Cultivation technique, 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture, grade, orthodox level, description, the mysterious talisman sect-protecting technique, containing 99 unique spiritual patterns. Reflect on talismans for mental cultivation. With accomplished practice, one can draw talismans in the void, refine talismans into formation, and sacrificing talisman soldiers. Its methods are profound and its power is boundless. This 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture really lives up to being an orthodox level cultivation technique. It's so comprehensive. Lu Chengxing, looking at the description of 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture in front of him, was pleasantly surprised. System, transmit the inheritance. His mental spirit stirred immediately, and he used the 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. Instantly, the method for cultivating the 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture and related content, all the essential pointers, poured into Lu Chengxing's mind like enlightenment. Lu Chengxing stood still, immersing his mental spirit in comprehending this orthodox level talisman inheritance technique. Chapter 408, The Second Spiritual Body Child. _1. True to a talisman inheritance technique, this 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture is indeed complex and profound. Lu Chengxing opened his eyes and exhaled lightly. Just now, through the system inheritance and a thorough infusion of knowledge, he had fully comprehended the 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. As for the cultivation methods and related content within it, he knew all key points by heart, mastering them perfectly. Yet even so, he couldn't help but marvel at the complexity and mysteries of this 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. The core of the technique lies in the 81 special spiritual patterns within the scripture. Each of these 81 patterns could evolve into hundreds or thousands of intricate runes. Combining and arranging these spiritual patterns and derived runes, one could create 129,600 types of spirit talismans. This number was astounding to know. As a fully leveled second-rank talisman master, Lu Changsheng's total number of mastered talismans barely surpassed 1,000. As for Lu Miaoge, currently a top-level first-grade talisman master, the number of talismans she mastered didn't even reach 100. Because human energy is limited, each talisman requires time to practice and master. Even second or third-rank talisman masters, who could easily draw first-rank talismans, still needed to invest time and energy. And yet, the 81 spiritual patterns in this 99 mystical talisman scripture encompass 129,600 spirit talismans. That's why these 81 spiritual patterns are each incredibly profound and difficult to comprehend. Therefore, to fully understand and accurately depict all 81 patterns is exceedingly difficult, too difficult. Enough to consume the lifetimes of many core formation, nascent soul, and even divinity transformation cultivators. Beyond these 81 spiritual patterns, this scripture also involves formations. Talisman formations. Talisman refinement formation. Ordinary cultivators, and even talisman masters, employ talismans in relatively simple ways. Just like casting techniques, they activate and use the talismans. Even if they have a vast amount of talismans, they just use them in a simple barrage. This method not only wastes talismans, but its power and effectiveness are also mediocre. Sometimes, because of too many and too messy talismans, activating too many at once can be difficult to control, leading to mana flux and self-harm. However, the talisman formation within the 99 mystical talisman scripture perfectly solves this drawback. It links talismans together in harmonious compatibility. Not only reducing the demands for divine sense control but also allowing dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of talismans to activate simultaneously, with their power stacking up to form a talisman formation. Though it cannot be maintained for long, it's faster and simpler than a formation tool. The moment thousands of talismans scatter down, the formation takes shape instantly with astounding power. This 99 mystical talisman scripture is excessively complex. Only someone with extraordinary talent and genius in the talisman path can cultivate it, Lu Changsheng murmured as he exhaled deeply. Otherwise, even if one cultivates the power of this scripture, if they cannot fully comprehend the spiritual patterns, they won't be able to showcase the true might of these techniques. Lu Changsheng took another deep breath and released it gently. He clearly recognized that the difficulty of this scripture was not in the cultivation of the technique, but in the understanding and the delineation of the 81 spiritual patterns. Only by grasping the core spiritual patterns of this technique could he maximize the myriad methods contained within the scripture, such as the life-bound divine talisman, void drawing of talismans, talisman refinement formation, and sacrificial refinement of talisman soldiers. Otherwise, even with access to the scripture, if one couldn't comprehend the spiritual patterns, they would only have slightly denser mana than ordinary cultivators, unable to unleash the true capabilities of this scripture. Perhaps it is due to the challenging nature of this technique that there are few sects specializing in it. For cultivators, even though they cultivate divine skills and techniques, in the end, the cultivation realm is the foundation. If too much effort is spent on other aspects, it will inevitably delay one's cultivation, he pondered. However, if I were to fully comprehend and grasp the entire 99 mystical talisman scripture, once the talisman formation is formed, its lethality would be even more fierce and domineering than the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture I'm currently cultivating. Lu Changsheng thought silently to himself. Through the transmission of the technique, he knew clearly the most powerful aspect of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, making it plaything-like to overcome enemies above one's rank with hundreds or thousands of talismans formed into a talisman formation. With proper preparations and enough talismans, even those at the foundation establishment stage could have a chance to subdue core formation cultivators. Of course, as powerful as it truly was exorbitantly expensive. After all, such a talisman formation needed to be built with actual talismans. It couldn't be said that the talisman formation could also be formed with void drawing of talismans. The so-called void drawing of talismans was just a supplementary technique to this cultivation practice, allowing one to condense talismans to combat enemies without relying on talisman materials, simply consuming mana. Although I won't switch to cultivating this 99 mystical talisman scripture and won't be able to condense a life-bound divine talisman, relying on the 81 spiritual patterns and the 129,600 derived talismans, along with void drawing of talismans and talisman refinement formation techniques, I can display about 70% of this scripture's potency, Lu Chengxing declared, before admitting, however, the effectiveness is still several degrees less than cultivating the scripture itself. He spoke softly to himself. Although the scripture was formidable, he had no intention of switching his cultivation practice. After all, the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture he was currently cultivating was no less remarkable than the 99 mystical talisman scripture. The 7 luminaries' heart lamp within the sword scripture was an excellent tool for cultivation. Without it, his cultivation speed would perhaps be half as slow. Moreover, mastering these 81 spiritual patterns and numerous techniques from this scripture were already enough for him. There was no need to insist on obtaining a life-bound divine talisman or several other methods. Setting everything else aside, with the 129,600 talismans from this 99 mystical talisman scripture, I can dominate a market niche with these exclusive spirit talismans, attractive to countless people, he considered. Chapter 409, The Second Spiritual Body Child. Lu Chengxing chuckled softly. Most of the talismans in the market were common ones. Only a small number of people, and powers, held a few exclusive talismans and talisman inheritances. And how many of these powerful exclusive talismans existed in the 99 mystical talisman scripture was anybody's guess. From Lu Chengxing's perspective, in the future, his family could completely rely on these various talismans to establish a foothold and occupy a segment of the market in the cultivation world. Although I don't cultivate the 99 mystical talisman scripture, besides the 129,600 talismans, it also contains methods for crafting several talisman instruments. Among them, there is one talisman instrument, the 99 mysterious true strategy, which assists in talisman refinement formation. It is very suitable for me. I could try to craft a simplified imitation. As for talisman warriors, according to the cultivation technique, crafting talisman warriors consumes a lot of time and energy, as well as cultivation level to nurture them. Currently, my cultivation level only allows me to craft ordinary force talisman warriors. Such talisman warriors can only do rough work and are not capable of fighting against others. To me, they are a waste of time and energy. Only when my cultivation level is higher and I have time and am willing to invest effort in crafting advanced level talisman warriors, will they have some combat effectiveness. However, within this scripture, there is a rather good talisman nurturing method. It involves drawing spirit talismans with excellent talisman materials and then spending time continuously nurturing the talismans, enabling a first-grade talisman to exhibit the power of a second-rank talisman, and a second-rank talisman to exhibit the power of a third-rank talisman. Currently, I can only draw second-rank supreme talismans, but with this talisman nurturing method, I can nurture several third-rank talismans for self-defense. That way, if I encounter a nascent soul immortal, I will also have some ability to protect myself. Lu Chengxing pondered silently to himself. Considering what aspects of the 99 mystical talisman scripture could be beneficial to him at the moment. Apart from mastering many powerful talismans, he could also craft a formation path talisman instrument. After all, talisman refinement formation can be considered the essence of this cultivation technique. It would allow him to elevate his combat capabilities by a level. And with the talisman nurturing method from the 99 mystical talisman scripture, he could nurture a few life-saving talismans. In this way, even if he encountered nascent soul immortals or false core immortals, he would have some means of self-protection. But to craft a simplified version of the 99 mysterious true strategy, I need to use rare materials like black obsidian essence iron and the iron of the 5 metals. Several of these materials are third-rank heavenly treasures and it is clearly impossible to gather them all in the Red Leaf Valley market. Also, to nurture third-rank treasure talismans, I must use third-rank materials to draw the talismans. Lu Changxing furrowed his brows slightly. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was just a newly established marketplace. Even among medium-sized markets, it was considered relatively inferior, at the bottom of the scale. Thus, purchasing third-rank materials in the market was very difficult. Unless one had fortuitous luck, otherwise acquiring such materials was nearly impossible. After Shi Yu and the Lu family affairs are dealt with, they'll first go to the Qingyun Commerce Guild in the Nine Dragons Market to see. If the Nine Dragons Market doesn't have them, I could take a trip to Zhouxiao Immortal City and just happen to pick up the rewards for the 2 robbers I hunted. Lu Changxing mused softly in his heart. In his view, it was worth making a trip out to craft a talisman instrument and nurture treasure talismans. With his current strength comparable to the late stage of Foundation establishment, heading to the Immortal City wouldn't be dangerous as long as he didn't run into any nascent soul immortals. Later he'll craft some sets of talismans that can form a talisman formation. That way, encountering late Foundation establishment or even false core robber cultivators shouldn't be a big deal. Lu Changxing thought to himself in secret. Now, with his divine sense comparable to the late stage of Foundation establishment and the profound origin bead at his side, he could easily deploy some talisman formations as long as he had enough talismans. If he formed a talisman formation with 100 second-rank talismans, he was confident he could suppress a cultivator at the late stage of Foundation establishment. As for false core immortals, Lu Changxing had never encountered one, so he was unsure of their strength. But based on the power of a talisman formation composed of 100 second-rank talismans, even if he couldn't kill the opponent, he could at least cause them severe damage. Since Xiao Xie could give birth at any moment, Lu Changxing, aside from occasionally visiting the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop and peace talisman hall, spent most of his time accompanying Xiao Xie, waiting for the child to be born. 1 month later. Inside the cultivation cave, Lu Changxing held Xiao Xie's delicate, boneless palm tightly. Wah, a clear cry of a baby echoed. At the same time, a profound and intense fluctuation burst forth, accompanied by a system notification sound. Congratulations on the birth of your second child with a spiritual body, you have won a lottery chance. What, a spiritual body? Even though Lu Changxing had previously guessed that this child would have good talent, he was startled when he heard this system notification. He hadn't expected Xiao Xie's child to actually have a spiritual body. And moreover, to receive a system reward after giving birth to a spiritual body child for the second time. But considering the rarity of a spiritual body, Lu Changxing also felt somewhat relieved. He didn't dwell on it and quickly regained his composure, turning his attention back to Xiao Xie. He used a gentle breeze and dewdrop talisman on Xiao Xie to adjust her body and replenish her damaged vital energy. Shiyu, I've made you go through so much. Lu Changxing held the child with one hand and performed a cleansing technique before embracing his beloved wife. I have finally borne a child for Lu Lang. Xiao Xie nestled in her lover's embrace, her slightly pale and weak face glowing with a radiant maternal smile. During her pregnancy, she had been looking forward to the child's birth, wondering whether it would be a boy or a girl, and whether the child would have a spiritual root talent. True, she had prepared a secret art technique during her time in Qingyun sect, and had nurtured the child with her moonlight spirit body, significantly increasing the chances of the child having a spiritual root with good talent. But there was no way to be absolutely certain. More than 3 years have passed, and I wonder how Shiyu is doing. Yun Wanshang gazed into the distance, a surge of emotions suddenly filling her heart, prompting thoughts of her disciple Xiao Xie, who had left the mountain. When Xiao Xie had left the mountain, she told her that this period of trials could last a short 3 years or as long as 5 years. Now that 3 years had passed, an unexpected rush of emotions made her think of Xiao Xie's circumstances. Although Xiao Xie's trials were not supposed to be very dangerous, Yun Wanshang still couldn't help but worry. In her spare time, she pondered the supreme forgetful love technique. With the insights Xiao Xie had previously provided, Yun Wanshang had different realizations upon reflection, gaining a deeper understanding of the profound mysteries of this cultivation technique. She understood that the supreme forgetful love technique's process from attachment to detachment made it easier to become deeply ensnared with each advancement in cultivation. One careless step, and one might never be able to extricate oneself. After all, everyone has their emotions and desires. Even those with firm Tao hearts find it difficult to contend with the complexities of emotions. Master. Just then, a woman in a white palace gown approached the pavilion and bowed to Yun Wanshang. This woman appeared to be around 25 or 26 years old. She had a striking, well-defined face, with sharp, narrow eyes that combined feminine softness with a hint of brisk coldness. Her nose was shapely and her lips tender, naturally rosy without the need for rouge. Her long black hair was simply tied back in a ponytail, and she carried an azure, wavering spiritual sword on her back. She exuded a cool, aloof aura, like a peerless sword fairy. Qing-yi, you're back. Is there any progress? Yun Wanshang asked as she turned to look at the woman. This disciple was Chu Qingyi, her eldest one, who had been sent out on a mission. Master, according to my investigation, there are indeed issues with the Xiahou family. They show signs of practicing demonic techniques, Chu Qingyi reported, her voice crisp and cold. Have you been able to determine which demonic technique these traces originate from? Could it be the work of a spy from another nation? Yun Wanshang asked, not surprised by the news. I haven't discovered relevant information yet, but through certain clues, it seems the Xiahou family's demonic techniques are related to the practice of refining corpses, Chu Qingyi stated. Refining corpses. Upon hearing this, Yun Wanshang's starry, brilliant eyes showed a trace of coldness. Chapter 411, Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. _1. System. After accompanying Xiao Xie for a good while, and waiting until her face showed tranquility and her breathing evened out as she gradually fell asleep, Lu Changxing silently invoked in his heart. Instantly, the system panel surfaced before his eyes. Name, Lu Changxing. Identity, son-in-law of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. Cultivation level, Foundation Establishment 2nd level, Lifespan, 36/269, Talent, 4th grade Spiritual Root, Gingjin Body Constitution, Moderate Spiritual Body, Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Upper grade Spiritual Body, Cultivation Technique, 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture, Yin-Yang Harmony Technique, 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture, Immortal. Beauty Technique, Spell, 7 Luminaries Sword Glow, 7 Luminaries Sword Shield, 7 Luminaries Sword Escape, Items, 9 Treasure Jade Rui, Luminous Treasure Tree, Golden Armor Bean Mother, Black Dragon Magical Bead, Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates, Life Substituting Talisman, Profound Origin Bead, Coagulation Crystal Elixir. Skills, Talisman Making, 2nd rank, Puppet, 2nd rank, Spirit Slaughterer, 2nd rank, Spiritual Pets, 9 Netherhound, Peach Blossom Goo, 6. Winged Golden Silkworm, Hope Goo, Offspring, 143 of 146, Blood Talisman Spiritual Body. What kind of spiritual body is this? And this spiritual body, why haven't I noticed any changes to my body? Lu Changxing, seeing the new addition related to Constitution on his attribute panel, felt astonished. He immediately closed his eyes and explored his body with his divine sense. He wanted to inspect the condition of this blood talisman spiritual body. Although spiritual bodies require the children to grow up before fully taking shape, he should not be completely unaware of it. After a long examination, Lu Changsheng's divine sense finally made a discovery. Within his own dantian, he found strands of faint blood-colored light patterns. These blood patterns, composed of wisps and strands, were ephemeral, forming a mysterious rhythm. They seemed like a series of profound and unknown seal scripts. This blood talisman spiritual body must be a recessive spiritual body that requires some kind of opportunity to awaken. These blood patterns are likely the spiritual patterns formed by the rules of heaven and earth of the blood talisman spiritual body. After checking his own condition, Lu Changxing had some guesses about this blood talisman's spiritual body. In the cultivation world, there are many types of spiritual bodies. Regardless of the number, these spiritual bodies can be classified as either overt or recessive spiritual bodies. Overt spiritual bodies are like Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution. They can be directly detected. As soon as one begins cultivation, they naturally exhibit their might. Recessive spiritual bodies, however, remain hidden and are hard for people to discern. One might need to reach a certain age or go through certain methods to awaken the spiritual body and exhibit its might. Just like his friend, Zhao Qingqing. She possessed a vague body constitution. But initially, her spiritual body hadn't awakened, nor had it been detected. It was later, while managing the herb garden, that an external elder from the Qingyun sect noticed her situation and awakened her spiritual body. No wonder I didn't feel any change. You'll need to look up information about this blood talisman spiritual body later. See what methods can be used to awaken the spiritual body. Lu Changxing murmured to himself, planning to check the information about this spiritual body later. This blood talisman spiritual body, being an upper-grade spiritual body, is a level higher than Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution, and is clearly not simple. And by the name, it should be related to the talisman path, some kind of talisman path spiritual body. A talisman path spiritual body, like a sword cultivator's supreme sword bone or a poison cultivator's calamitous poison body, is naturally suited for the talismanic great Tao, with inherent extraordinary talent for talismans. If that's the case, then the 99 mystical talisman scripture I obtained earlier might be greatly developed in the hands of this child. Lu Changxing thought to himself. Looking at the pink and tender, sweet and lovely infant in his arms, a surge of affection and joy involuntarily rose from the bottom of his heart. Based on the recent pulse sensation of the spiritual root, this child should have a 4th-grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing then reflected on this child's spiritual root. With a slight stirring of his mental spirit, he brought up his daughter's system panel. Name, Lu Wangshu, lifespan, 182nd, talent, 4th-grade spiritual root, blood talisman spiritual body, upper-grade spiritual body, cultivation level, none, there it is, a 4th-grade spiritual root. A 4th-grade spiritual root with an upper-grade spiritual body, this child will become one of the pillars of the Lu family. A smile emerged on Lu Changsheng's face. His heart was filled with anticipation for the child's future. Lu Qingshan with a 6th-grade spiritual root, possessing the Gingjin body constitution. Lu Qingxian with a 4th-grade spiritual root. Lu Wangshu with a 4th-grade spiritual root, and the blood talisman spiritual body. My Lu family has indeed gained a few pillar seeds for the future. Lu Changxing rejoiced inwardly. He had 146 children. The first batch of these children were already stepping into adulthood one after another. They were about to start their own families and businesses, providing fresh blood to stabilize the Lu family. Among the 146, 36 possessed spiritual roots. These younger children were the foundation for establishing a future cultivation family. And among these 36, 3 were geniuses, destined to become the future pillars of the family. The days ahead are becoming more and more promising. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled gently. His mind involuntarily started to plan for the future. Now, the issues are the spiritual land, the family's great formation, and the initial capital. Lu Changxing had a clear vision for the future. Establishing his own cultivation family, but currently there were 3 problems in establishing the family. For the spiritual land, he planned to obtain it through the channel of Shao Xia and Qingyun sect, or through the Lu family's bid for Red Leaf Valley. For the family's great formation, I can only wait for the system to act. In the coming time, the surge of children should trigger many achievement rewards. If it really doesn't work out, I can ask Shiyu to invite a formation master from Qingyun's sect when the time comes. As for the family's initial capital, I should be able to accumulate it through the 2nd-rank talismans. Chapter 412, Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. When these children are about big enough, these three aspects should also be about ready, Lu Changxing thought to himself. System, draw a prize. Without further thought, Lu Changxing silently invoked again in his mind. He intended to use the lotteries he had just won. The prize will emerged, shining with golden light, spinning rapidly. Under Lu Changxing's calm gaze, the golden light eventually stopped on skills. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining second-rank alchemy skills. The reward has been issued to the system space, and the host may check it at any time. A light orb in the shape of an elixir emerged from the prize wheel, accompanied by the system's voice. Alchemy. Second-rank alchemy. Lu Changxing saw the reward for his lottery draw and felt a surge of joy. Among the 100 arts of cultivation, what he most wanted at the moment was formation. After that, it was alchemy. These two crafts are not only among the mainstream 4 arts in the cultivation world and upper-class professions, but also very useful to him at the moment. As for formation, there's no need to say more. It concerns the great formation of his future family and the placement of the family's formations. Otherwise, buying array plates and hiring other array masters to arrange great formations, he really couldn't be at ease. From the previously seen Heaven and Qingyun Water Great Formation in Red Leaf Valley Market, one could see that the level of such a second-rank great formation was very ordinary. Using such formation for his own family, Lu Changxing really couldn't be at ease. Besides, mastering formations and arranging great formations by himself, in times of danger, activating the great formation and presiding over it could maximize the power of the formation. It's incomparable to presiding over a great formation arranged by others, through array plates or array tools. As for alchemy, after his breakthrough in foundation establishment, purchasing second-rank elixir medicines became very difficult. Normally, he could only take energy refining elixirs to aid his cultivation. Now that he had mastered second-rank alchemy skills, he no longer had to worry about elixirs. With second-rank alchemy, not only can I solve my current need for elixirs. In the future, I might even be able to refine foundation building elixirs, Lu Changxing rejoiced in his heart. Then he looked toward the light orb in the system space. Second-rank alchemy skills, upon use, one can directly comprehend second-rank full-level alchemy skills and the corresponding complete compendium of elixir formulas. Wait, are all the skills second rank? Are there no third ranks? Lu Changxing pondered as he looked at the alchemy skills before him. Including this alchemy skills, he had drawn 4 sets of skills from the system. All of these skills were second rank. It made Lu Changxing curious whether he could draw third rank skills. Without much further thought, he used the second rank alchemy skills from the system space. Suddenly, a flood of knowledge and information poured into his mind from nowhere. Introduction to Alchemy, Basic Alchemy Compendium, First Rank Alchemy Compendium, Second Rank Alchemy Compendium, How Elixir Medicines Are Made, 10 Years of Qi Refinement, 100 Years of Alchemy. After a while, a deluge of knowledge about alchemy flowed into Lu Changxing's mind. It gave him an understanding of various elixirs, pharmacology, alchemy techniques, temperature control, and so on. Phew, alchemy really is worthy of being one of the mainstream 4 arts of cultivation. From distinguishing the pharmacology of various spiritual medicines, the kings and ministers in each elixir, flame control, different alchemy techniques, spells, amalgamating elixirs, and finalizing them. Lu Changxing digested the knowledge about alchemy skills in his mind. He felt that the skill was indeed extremely complicated. However, it seems that making high-level second-rank elixirs isn't as simple as I had imagined. After digesting the knowledge, Lu Changxing furrowed his brows slightly. Now that he had a detailed understanding of alchemy, he knew that ordinary elixirs were very simple to make. 1 pill furnace, 1 fire control formation, or alternatively natural mana solidifying into flame would suffice. But to make certain advanced elixirs, ordinary fire wouldn't do. You would need innate true fire, heavenly spiritual fire, or earth core fire. If I want to make advanced level elixirs, I still need to cultivate a spell or divine skill for condensing innate true fire. Thinking of practicing spells gave Lu Changxing a headache. Because his initial practice of soul dispersion needle made him aware that his aptitude for techniques was very average. Just like the soul dispersion needle, this divine sense attack secret technique, he pondered and attempted it whenever he was free. In the end, it took him over a year to master it. And only then was he able to condense 3 soul-scattering needles in his divine sense, capable of conducting 3 divine sense attacks on others. Now, the thought of having to practice spells made his head ache. Never mind, this is not urgent. The flame solidified by the mana of a foundation establishment cultivator is enough for me to refine most elixirs. When I truly need innate true fire to refine advanced level elixirs, maybe I'll draw some kind of heavenly spiritual fire, or have the conditions to build my own alchemy chamber. Lu Changxing exhaled lightly and didn't dwell too much on the innate true fire. After a cultivator breaks through to foundation establishment, the spiritual fire that condenses with one's own mana could satisfy most needs for alchemy and artifact refining. After Lu Wangshu was born, Lu Changxing had originally planned to rent a courtyard and hire a wet nurse to care for the child. But Xiao Xia said she had been out for more than 3 years, and planned to return to Qingyun's sect in another half a year. So in this half year, she wanted to spend more time with the child and was against hiring a wet nurse. Facing this situation, of course, Lu Changxing had little to say, and he went along with her. But he rented another courtyard anyway. After all, a cave dwelling of about 100 square feet was a bit too small and suffocating for an infant. Shiyu, there's something I need to deal with regarding the Lu family. After spending most of a month with Xiao Xia, Lu Changxing spoke up. He discussed the matter of the second-grade Talisman Masters Convention. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.